This podcast is brought to you by the Arte Media Pantheon. Please head to artemedia.org to see plenty of podcasts from our great friends. And if you'd like to start your own podcast, they can provide you with the tools and resources to do so there. So please head to artemedia.org. That's A-R-E-T-E media.org. On with the show, Jordan.
On with Japanese.
Jordan, it's flawless intro for me as always. Welcome, as always, as it continues to be, the Spur of the Month podcast, everybody. I'm your host, Justin Spurr. I'm joined, as always, by my host. He henshined into the incomparable Jordan. It's the incomparable... When Jordan puts on his podcast headphones and his shirt, you watch it happen in half a second, he becomes the incomparable Jordan. And that's what we call him on the Spur of the Moment podcast. That's a joke for me. Only me gets that, because that's a reference to later. Later. We're doing it's Tokusatsu week. As always, comes with the second episode of every season is Tokusatsu week. Today we're going to talk about Metal Hero, and we're going to talk about Kamen Rider again, and some Super Sentai again, and then we're also going to talk about, because I promised the audience I talk about some Ultraman, so we're going to talk about a bit of Ultraman. But first, as always, we do the news here. We put our news shoes on. Let's together now put our news shoes on. We're putting those new shoes on, and we're diving into some movie news, including he's doing a binocular thing. He's supposed to be putting his new shoes. Not important. Today, we're gonna talk about
we're searching for the news
after we put our news shirt on, including when is Black Panther 3 coming? Who's gonna be Jor-El? Hey, guess what? Will Smith's making some music. The guy from Invincible is going to be an Avatar. The Marvel, they did a big stream where they had a bunch of chairs with names on them. John, did you see the stream with chairs?
No, but I saw people talking about some sort of chairs.
All that and more on the Spur of the Month podcast, Jordan. Let's dive right in to the news, Jordan. Who do you think?
It's time for news.
Who do you think? Interesting. Okay. Oh.
Matt Damon.
No.
Nicolas Cage.
Sorry, I didn't read this article beforehand, and I went, huh. So this isn't really news, but Jordan, it's apparently a rumor that's pretty. It's a rumor. It's a leak. Jordan, who do you think is going to be Jor-El in that new Superman movie? Spoilers for Superman.
Mark Hamill.
No. You get two more guesses.
The guy who played Superman in the last one?
Last guess.
Mark Zuckerberg.
Wow, none of those were wrong. Some of them were close. Apparently it's Bradley Cooper.
None of those were wrong, man. So all of those people are going to play Jor-El?
Yeah, none of that was right. All of it was wrong. Is what I meant to say.
Oh, okay. That makes more sense.
It's actually going to be Bradley Cooper. Apparently. Allegedly.
Okay. That's a weird choice.
Feels like an odd choice.
But okay.
That feels like a very odd choice, but...
Is it, I mean, it's so...
Alright.
I mean, it's just because he's best friends with the guy who made Guardians of the Galaxy, because he was Rocket the Raccoon.
Oh, yeah! Okay, now that makes sense. Right, okay. Because I'm like, why Bradley? Right.
I'm right about that, right? That is the guy who plays Rocket Raccoon?
That's absolutely the guy. I forgot about that. Yeah. Okay, now that you said that does make a lot of sense. Because, like, otherwise I was like, that's odd.
I mean, the only other one that you could have said that would have made more sense is if you said, Chris Pratt.
Yeah,
I blanked on his name for a second there.
I mean, it's apparently not a huge spoiler because he's apparently not in it like a ton, but all right.
He never is.
No, that's not true. He's in 30 minutes of Man of Steel.
I'll take your word on it. I've never timed it.
It's about 30 minutes. It's really long. So apparently, Black Panther 3 is coming out, everybody. They're making a Black Panther 3. Be interesting to find out. And there's a whole thing with Denzel Washington, where he said
Why?
something about how he was going to be in it or something. But apparently they've given a release date on the third one. Apparently, in November 2024, Denzel Washington revealed that Coogler is writing a part for him. And,
I mean, that's bold. So who's the main character? Shiri?
I guess, yeah. Yeah, apparently he might be in it. He might be in... Denzel Washington might be in Black Panther 3. Which, like, I'm okay
Under
with.
what capacity?
I'm kind of hoping the bad guy, the villain. I'm kind of hoping he'll be the villain. That'd be fun.
I mean, sure. Again, who's gonna be the main character?
Probably girl. Probably girl.
It's got to be the sister, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe Soyo will become the Black Panther.
I mean,
that would be better. That would be better, in my opinion. I've always found the sister to be kind of. Yeah.
I mean, if this comes out after Secret Wars, which it seems like it's gonna,
Plus, I thought they were behind. The scenes things about the girl who plays the sister that made her. Yeah.
I have no idea, but I'm guessing if it's after Secret Wars, they'll do a thing where either they'll flash forward and it'll be the son, and it'll be like 15 years later and it's the son, or they'll have an alternate version of what's his face walk out of a portal and be like, "I'm new boy Black Panther."
Yeah. Yeah, this feels like a mistake.
I mean, nobody really liked that second one, so like, I don't know who this is for.
I don't know.
Whatever.
I have to be honest. It was never, the series is not for me.
No,
to begin with.
No.
So Okay.
So apparently, and I didn't see this coming. Will Smith has a new album coming out. He's doing music again, which like, all right. That feels like that would have been like, it's one of those things where this feels like this would have been cool like 10 years ago. Now it feels kind of, I don't want to say sad, but like desperate, trying to like recoup his image from because apparently the story that I have is that he addresses the Oscar thing on the new album. I will not read the lyrics to you because if I read them to you, they would be weird. But I suppose he kind of does. He talks about like having to make people like him again.
There's nothing I can say here that won't get me in trouble. That sounds dumb.
Right? I mean, I'm not a music guy. We're not a
short version. Yeah. Feels like he should have done this like 10, 20 years ago.
Right?
He's
in his 60s.
Now,
is this cool? Are people excited by this?
Is he in his 60s?
Yeah, something like that, yeah. Well, let's find out.
Hold on. Let's find out.
Let's see who can
that feels way too old.
How old is
I would
Will
say
Smith?
that.
Okay, he's almost 60. He's 56.
Yeah, okay, that makes more sense.
I guess there's a big difference between being 60 and being almost 60.
Yes, there definitely is. Yeah, now it just feels like old dad trying to be cool with the young generation.
Right?
Like it's not like
I'm cool like you young folks.
He's not a legendary like musician in the same way that like AC/DC, yeah, even when they were old and touring, it was like, yeah, they're old, but they're still AC/DC.
Yeah.
Or like Metallica, where it's like it's still Metallica. There's a certain like legendary status.
I do hit a point where it becomes sad.
He stopped. He gave up the music thing. He became a movie movie star.
Yeah.
Like that's what he is now. He's not a musician anymore. So to me that's weird. That's a weird choice. Like he feels like he should be at the age where like he's doing like Will Smith biopics.
Yeah, or something.
Or like biographical stuff talking about all the great like he's the over the hill part where like now he goes and does what he wants, like the fun things.
Apparently what he wants to do is make music.
Or like the autobiographical stuff. Like yeah, I don't know. That seems weird to me.
Yeah,
but
I'm just like, what? All right, didn't have that on my 2025 bingo card.
Like to me, that's on the same level of like if you said, yeah, Jim Carrey joined a band,
right?
Like it's weird.
So okay, so they're making that...
especially because there's I guarantee you there's a lot of younger people in this world who didn't even know he was a musician.
Probably not. It's probably some 15, 16-year-olds are like, Will Smith makes music. Isn't he that old guy? But yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's good. Who knows? They're making a Legend of Zelda movie, Jordan. They're making a Legend of Zelda movie.
I saw what appeared to be a teaser on TikTok. I assumed it was fake.
No, I mean, we talked about them making it before. They're making it...
No, I know, but I hadn't heard that something like viewable had actually officially come out.
There isn't. They don't have anything other than they announced the director, who is named Wes Ball, who directed the Maze Runner movie, and it is also being produced by Avi Arad, famous Spider-Man ruiner.
So there's no way this isn't bad, right?
No, there's no way this isn't going to be bad.
Like at best, like mediocre.
Yeah. Just I don't know, man. It's tough. Legend of Zelda. I mean, the thing that makes me wary is that it's live action. If this were animated,
that's the thing,
I'd be
right?
like if this were being done by a Japanese animation studio, like Lord of the Rings, War for the Rohirrim. That movie's very pretty looking. Like if it was like that, I'd be all down for this. But the fact that it's live action, I'm like.
I mean, I'm just saying, I would like love to have a Studio Ghibli animated Legend of Zelda movie.
Everyone would. And like
that thing would print money.
That thing would absolutely print money. And like I just
who was asking for the live action?
The only charm the Mario movie has is that it looks like the Thing. This can't really look like the Thing, so it's not gonna look. So it's gonna please no one. It's gonna please no one. I don't get it.
That's my thing. Like, who was asking for the live action Legend of Zelda one? I don't get it.
I don't understand.
Who maybe someone in the inevitable comment section when this becomes a video or short, someone please tell me, are you excited for this live action Legend of Zelda movie? And if you are, and if you are, why? Yeah. What excites you about it? What makes you go like, yeah, that's the thing I want? Not an animated one, a live action one that's just gonna look like Lord of the Rings.
So okay, so they're making a live another Airbender movie. This article doesn't say which one it is. I think it's that one with adult Aang that's coming out. But they've announced that the guy who voices Invincible, Stephen Ewan, will be in it in a mystery role.
Interesting. Yeah, that's probably that one where it's Aang in the group as adults.
I think so.
If I had to guess,
I'm down. I'm down. I'll go watch that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Especially if it's 2D animated.
Yeah,
it's 2D
I'm all
animated.
For supporting 2D animation.
I will be there.
But as for what character he might play, the guy who plays Invincible, that's probably a new, like he'll probably be the villain.
Probably.
Like the thing that they're fighting against.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I mean, that'd be pretty rad. I'd be down for that. Jordan, what should we do next? Let's see.
Or and I'd actually like this more. Maybe he's a young Tenzin.
That'd be fun. That'd be pretty fun.
Like a young or a young one of Aang's kids, because like he's old enough at that point where it's like the kids could be a thing.
True, you're not wrong. That would be pretty fun. Jordan, I guess let's talk about. There's no censor order in this episode. Let's talk about that chair thing. So yes,
that chair thing.
That chair thing. So Marvel did a big long. I think it wound up being a 4-hour-long stream of just director's chairs, and they had the names of the actors that are going to be in Avengers Doomsday. It was very slow, and it went by. And I saw it was like video after video of people being like, "This is stupid. This is dumb." And it's like 2.5 million people tuned into it. It ain't that dumb. But like, I'm like, what's stupider? The people who put out the video, the long stream of just chairs with people's names on them, or the dumbasses standing there, sitting there watching it live on stream endlessly. 2.5 million views, Jordan, of just chairs, chairs with names on them.
To be fair to defend the 2 million that showed up, I guarantee you a good number of them watch the video for 2 seconds and then we're mostly in the chat, so then it registers you're watching the video.
I'm sure that's probably true.
You're not specifically watching the video. You're talking in the group about who just got like which chair just got said. Who's in it now? Who's in it now?
I'm not watching a second of this because I'll just wait till tomorrow when the list is on paper on an article, not on paper, but when the list is in a list form in an article on the internet where I can read it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna sit there and watch this stupidity.
But some people like the engagement and talking and no. I mean no.
This
I don't even know who's on the list because I refuse to engage with stuff like that because I try to just live in the moment and watch it when I go to the movie when possible.
I mean that's not possible. I'm gonna read the list right now. But I'm trying
Damn you, Justin.
The formatting of it was not very good.
I feel like you don't need to. You could just skip that for me.
There we go. Okay, here we go.
Or not?
No, maybe not. It's just the formatting of these articles are bad.
Good. I don't want to know.
Okay, here we go. Here we go, Jordan. Or
just gonna turn you down. Go ahead.
All right, here we go. Chris Hemsworth, Vanessa Kirby, Anthony Mackie, Sebastian Stan, Letitia Wright, Paul Rudd, Wyatt Russell. I'm not going to pronounce that name. I don't know how to pronounce that name. Simu Limu. Jordan, you with me? With me so far?
I don't know who half these people are, so it means nothing to me.
Simu Limu, Florence Pugh, Kelsey Grammer, Louise Pullman, Danny Ramirez, Joseph Quinn, David Harbour, Winston Duke, Hannah John Kamen, Tom Hiddleston, Patrick Stewart, Ian McKellen, Alan Cumming, Rebecca Romarin, James Marsden, Channing Tatum, Pedro Pascal, and Robert Downey Jr.
Okay.
Did you recognize any of those names, Jordan?
A few here and there.
Yeah. All right. So the interesting...
Mostly no. I'd say I recognized about 10% of them.
Well, it's some of the funnier ones. So there's quite a number of funny articles that came from this list. One of which being the people being like, it ruins the Thunderbolts. It tells you who's going to live and die in the Thunderbolts. And it's like, if you thought Florence Pugh and David Harbour and Sebastian Stan were going to die in that movie, boy howdy do I have a bridge to sell you. Because come on now. And so it turns out that the ones who died are the ones who don't take off their masks in the trailer. You know, the ones who were really obvious that they were going to die? Those ones?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Definitely.
But the interesting stuff is all the X-Men guys who are going to be in there.
Yeah, I didn't hear any.
So you got Patrick Stewart, Ian McKellen.
The only one that I heard was James Marsden, who I know is Cyclops.
James Marsden. Rebecca Romaine is Mystique. So you got Magneto.
Which Mystique?
The original Mystique.
Oh.
The new Mystique is Jennifer Lawrence.
I know. I just wanted you to acknowledge that.
And then we've got the cast of Fantastic Four is in there. Shang-Chi, that's gonna be the first time Shang-Chi comes back.
Yes.
How are we feeling about that?
I don't know. I need to see a trailer because a lot of those names mean nothing. They'll be in there for 2 seconds. They'll that's the thing with things like this. That's why I didn't want to know, is because it doesn't matter. It's not about knowing who's in it. It's knowing how they're in it, what quantity they're in it, to what extent they're in it. Because I guarantee you 70% of those names will just be in a final battle where you briefly see them in the background. But are they going to be in it to the level where it's like an actual role? Probably not.
That's fair.
So doesn't really matter knowing that they're like I guarantee you we're not going to have a scene where James Marsden as Cyclops is sitting there talking about all his problems. We're going to see a cutaway in the back where you see them all fighting against each other and you see the X-Men there and you see him standing there going like as his laser beam goes.
I will say that there are some theories that people are saying that it's moved into more of an X-Men versus the Avengers thing, and that's why there's so many X-Men in this. It's interesting that, and to be fair, there's some people who think that this is not the full cast list because it's odd that Wolverine's not there. The one that I thought was interesting was Channing Tatum as Gambit. He's going to be there. Alan Cumming. Okay, so here's the question, Jordan. I saw a post being like, I can't believe Alan Cumming is back as Nightcrawler. He hated being Nightcrawler. Like, he hated it. He loved the makeup process. He hated the whole thing. And I went, it's because he agreed to it. They're like, I can't believe he agreed to it. It's like, he agreed to it because much like Kelsey Grammer, they told him the character was going to be entirely CGI.
And they offered the right amount of money.
Right? Like, there's no way that and everyone's like, oh, no, well, he'll wear the makeup. Like, no way. There's no way. There's no way that character won't be entirely CGI.
Well, there's also a big difference, and that's what I'm talking about. There's also a big difference between him agreeing to come to go, even if he is in the chair in full makeup. There's a big difference between being in one scene for an afternoon and an entire shooting process where you have to constantly do it.
That is true. You're not wrong.
That's where I say, like, a lot of them, I guarantee you, they're in the final battle scene where we just see them for a second.
Yeah, and also to be fair, they are saying that this is not the full cast list because I'll
call back to Endgame.
Yeah.
When we have literally that's what it will be.
But
it's like
missing,
that.
It's missing Tom Holland as Spider-Man, Benedict Cumberbatch. It's missing Chris Pratt. Like I said, Wolverine's not there. Deadpool's not there. Hulk's not there. Hawkeye, Captain Marvel, She-Hulk, or Miss Marvel. And I suspect they will all be there.
Probably. I'd be shocked if they weren't.
They're not in this one. They'll be in the next one. Although supposedly one of
the only reason why I could see a couple of them not being there, like Hulk, is because he's off helping theoretically with the Fantastic Four when they show up in our world. Yeah,
like they'll do a thing where they split them off. Whoever's not in this one will be in the next one. Because apparently one of the rumors is that he's not in the first one because Spider-Man 4 takes place like during whatever the whole event's going to be, so he's busy doing something else, and then he'll be in the last one. And also, like, the other two Spider-Men aren't there, which I suspect they will probably want them as well. So yeah, this is like, for everyone who's like, spoilers, whatever, I'm like, yeah, but it's like you said, knowing who's in it doesn't matter. It's about knowing what they do in it. Yeah,
exactly. Like you could know who's going to be in it, but how? How do they show up? Where do they show up? It's not what I guess I'm saying is it's not in and of itself a spoiler.
No. And unfortunately,
does it slightly spoil things a little bit? Sure. But that, with the internet being what it is, that was always going to happen.
Also, unfortunately, we do this, and doing this involves talking about that.
No, not necessarily.
It gets the big clicks on the internet.
Sure, but we could speculate things without knowing specifics.
We could, but we won't, and we shan't, and we will not.
We might, we may, and we could.
But we're not gonna.
But we might.
So
anyway,
they're making a live action Scooby-Doo show for Netflix.
Okay, why?
Fun, I assume.
But these live action shows, these live action anythings are never any good. Just go back to 2D animation.
Okay, here's the description. A modern reimagining of the iconic mystery-solving group of teens and their very special dog. At least this one has the dog. During their final summer at camp, old friends Shaggy and Daphne get embroiled in a haunting mystery surrounding a lonely, lost Great Dane puppy that may be a witness to a supernatural murder. Together with a pragmatic and scientific townie, Velma, and the strange but ever so handsome new kid, Freddy, they set out to solve the case that's been pulling each of them into a creepy nightmare that threatens to expose all of their secrets. This kind of sounds like Riverdale. It's giving me real Riverdale vibes.
That's not a compliment.
Like it's giving me teenage CW vibes. I'm not gonna lie to you, it does intrigue me a little bit.
Shaggy is going to be pining for his best friend Daphne, and then Velma is going to be pining for Freddy, and Freddy is going to be gay.
I mean, I don't know, mysterious new. I don't know. But yeah, it's very much like it. I'm guessing Freddy's the main character, and he's our audience in if he's the new guy. That does intrigue me enough to that doesn't sound like it's just a kid's show. Like it sounds like it has a bit of edge to it, and much like Riverdale, I am fascinated. I will check it out. Will I commit to the full thing? Time will tell. Time will tell. We may, you know what? Maybe we might do a Hanna-Barbera episode because you know what? That sounds like a fun excuse to watch Scooby-Doo movies. I'm just thinking of this on the fly as we're talking. We'll talk. I'll have my people call your people.
You are my people.
Oh. So Jordan, you're never gonna guess who they might get to play Hagrid.
Oh, and that terrible new remake?
Yes.
The god awful piece of shit that looks and sounds awful. I'm gonna guess John Goodman.
No. That was close though.
Was it close?
It was not close. It's gonna be he might be played by Nick Frost, who is you remember that movie Paul?
Yes.
Remember Simon Pegg?
Yes.
You remember Simon Pegg's best friend in that movie?
Yes.
That guy.
Yes.
That guy.
The one who like was jealous of Paul.
Yes. He's also Santa Claus on Doctor Who once.
I feel like he's been in other things too, but anyways, yes.
Yeah,
what about him?
He might be Hagrid in the new Harry Potter show.
He's too young.
I would be like he's too short. Not tall enough.
That too.
He needs to be taller.
But I mean, after what they did with the casting of Snape, I don't think you could do much worse.
Nobody likes that casting. Everyone's bad. Even like that is a casting that pleases no one because the people who are like they make everything woke and shit hate it, and then the people who are like who don't care about that stuff are like, yeah, Harry is mistrusting of a black guy. That's bad.
It's just there's so many reasons why it doesn't work, and it's also just the character is literally described as being like pasty, disgustingly pasty white.
I mean,
he has a very specific imagery, unlike a lot of the other characters in Harry Potter. Snape has a very specific imagery.
I know the movies made him charming and whatever, but that's not how he's supposed to be. You gotta make this more book accurate. You gotta be book accurate.
And then there's that's not even talking about Snape Harry immediately hates him, which if he's black just kind of comes across like it's a racial thing. Right. And Neville is scared of him, which that's the other one that I've seen people making fun of, where it's like, all right, Neville, just imagine what scares you, and it's like, why is it the black professor that scares you? What did he do?
Exactly. Yeah, it's bad. It's very bad.
Like, it's bad on so many levels.
Okay, Jordan, I need to take a moment. I need to take a moment and talk to the internet directly. Internet, before we talk about our next news story, okay? I need you to do a 30-second Google search before you get upset about something from now on. Because I saw a lot of angry, stupid comments from stupid people who, if you just had done a 30-second Google search, you'd be less angry. Jordan, for Malcolm in the Middle, a new reboot, they announced that two of the brothers are coming back, which legit surprised me. The older brother Francis and Reese are both coming back. Which, fascinating. That honestly makes me more excited for this than I ever have been. But that they are recasting Dewey, and I saw a lot of people who were upset by this. To all those people, do a 30-second Google search because you will learn he quit acting and left public life. He has no desire or interest to be involved in this in any way, and they went with his blessing.
Not only did he quit acting, he never liked acting, which is why he quit acting. To be like, oh yeah, you have to come back for this when you quit acting. Have never done it since. I didn't even like it when you did it. No, why would he?
Right, exactly. Apparently the woman who plays Lois still writes to him, but he has no interest in this whatsoever. So and the guy they got looks like Dewey. It's kind of incredible. It looks just like him, and now, being said, he's a pretty easy character to change.
If you wanted to have a fun he did a fun over a voiceover thing in some kind of gimmicky cameo kind of thing. If he was cool doing that,
sure,
then that would be fun.
But, yeah,
but
he was
like
young
no,
enough that you could be like, yeah, he physically changed when he hit puberty or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not that I think you need to explain it, but like, yeah.
But
That's like I saw so many stupid people being like, they recast him. They should have done that. I feel bad for him. It's like, no, but he didn't want to do it.
So here's the other
Google's
thing I'll
free,
say.
people. Google is free.
For all those people who are upset, who would definitely be the type to be like, oh, it's the woke agenda, just be thankful they didn't be like, yeah, in the years since, Dewey came out as transgender and is a girl now. Well, like, they could have easily done something like that.
They announced a non-binary actress who was playing, or actress, whatever, who was playing a character, and they didn't say who it was. And there was a rumor that one of the kids was gonna be one of the kids. But then it might be one of the grandkids. But
we can all agree, given how odd Dewey was, that if they had to choose one of them, it would have been Dewey, right?
I mean, Dewey's definitely gonna be gay.
I mean, I don't know about that. He enjoyed the girls' attention in the show.
Yeah, but it's gonna be like he did. I mean, he of
them. Again, I would see transgender and not gay.
Of the two of them, it's like Reese or Dewey are the most believable to turn out gay. They discovered something in college, came out of the closet. I could believe it. It's believable.
I could see Reese being gay because it was like he was like massively overcompensating as a younger man. Dewey, him I really do see as being transgender.
And all the people who are like woke is taking over are screaming into their keyboards right now. We just got a slew of angry comments.
Dewey would become Dufina. I don't know. I was trying to think of a good girl name with a D. Diane.
He'll be Diane.
She'll be Diane.
She'll be Diane. They announced Jordan when that Indiana Jones game is finally coming to PS5.
Oh, yeah?
Apparently, it's coming out on PS5 April 17th.
When Hell freezes over? Yeah. Oh. We went in two very different directions there.
We did. April 17th.
Oh, cool. I'll have to keep an eye out for that and probably inevitably end up buying it.
I would like to play that game. I have not watched any of the gameplay. I don't really know what it looks like, but I like Indiana Jones.
My track record is I'll buy it, and then 2 months later, 2 to 4 months later, it'll end up being on the PlayStation Plus games for free, because that's my record.
That is your record. So it's funny.
Is it?
Hold on. Yeah, final story. So it's really funny. I've said for eons, you know which character they need to do more stuff with? Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. Like, there needs to be cartoons. Why is there not a show? Like, this is an underutilized character. So they recently announced that they're going to be making a TV series for Disney Plus with the Iron Man director Jon Favreau, and that is rad. And I would totally do it where I would make him like very dry. Like, the voice I could picture of would be for him. I've always pictured for him as akin to like a little rougher, a little gravelier, kind of like Baby Herman from Who Framed Roger Rabbit, like that kind of low register kind of voice. But like,
I mean,
make him like
we know what kind of voice he would have. He was voiced for the first time ever in Epic Mickey 2.
Yes, but I would change the voice, is what I'm saying. I would go a different direction. That's the voice I would do. But I would do a thing where it's kind of like I do it. Maybe it's sort of Roger Rabbit-esque where it's like, he's trying to like rehabilitate his image or whatever. He's trying to get back in the game. Like, he hires an image consultant or whatever, and like that's the main character. He's trying to rehabilitate Oswald, and it's kind of like almost like Fred Claus, where Mickey Mouse is his like annoying, like ultra successful younger brother. Like, and I would absolutely have it where they're like brothers, and have it where it's like Oswald is resentful of Mickey, but Mickey has no idea.
So I love your idea. I'm gonna add on to it. You remember that short, the 100 Years short or whatever, where it's them all getting ready for the photo shoot? I would take that and have it be like Oswald is our character, and we're seeing him in that world, going to work every day, like trying to get work at the studio while his brother is like like in charge, and he's like starting at the bottom again, and he's like like everything you said, he's rehabilitating, trying to get back in the game. And meanwhile, Mickey is just like shoving it down, like being like the center of everything, kind of trying to be like, oh, let me give you tips, let me give you pointers, this is what I would do.
Mickey means well, but he doesn't know that Oswald can't stand him.
And Oswald is like, yeah, okay, little brother, okay, I got this. And yeah, have it be like an office style show where and then you can have fun episodes where there's cameos with like the voice of Ariel comes back to be Ariel, and you can have all the different characters.
Do it like it's like a pseudo sequel to the House of Mouse, where it's like he's working in the mailroom. And he's just incredibly like bitter and jaded and sarcastic and just like everything that Mickey isn't, the complete opposite. And have Mickey just have no idea that he's just this asshole and think he's like, because he's Mickey, he thinks everyone is cool.
And I would do it where it's like it was fun. He was like you portray him character wise as like he was the retired older brother that like is trying to make a comeback in show business.
Yeah. Or just so something where like he tried before and it ultimately didn't work out. Yeah, he's trying to make a comeback. Like this super fourth wall breaky. I pictured it as an fully animated show, but hybrid live action anime would be fun too.
I see a world where it's like Mickey has his big office and it's got the Mickey Mouse and it's like the big impressive looking door, and then like down the hallway around the corner in the back area where there's where it would be a dead end and the janitor's closet would be, Oswald has taken over the janitor's closet and put up like a plastic star on top of it with his face on
See,
it.
In my version of it, he works in the mailroom. He doesn't have an office. He's a mailroom guy. He's an intern out there.
No, he doesn't have an office, Justin. He has a janitor's office, which he's put a sticker on. He likes to think he has an office.
All right. Check that out. Coming to Disney Plus. Jon Favreau. You could pay us.
I will be interested to see what it actually is.
Pay us. I just realized I forgot to put a sponsorship section in for this week. Oops. You know what?
This week is brought to you by us.
You could check out. I thought I saw this somewhere. I'll put it in later. You can sign up for Audible using our Audible link in the description of this. It's going to go in later when you're listening to this later. And you can sign up for Audible using our code. And when you sign up for Audible using our code, you get your own credit, which you could use to, I'm pretty sure, buy book one of the I can't remember which one. You can get that's it. You can get the new Hunger Games book. Is new on Audible right now. I can't remember what it's called, but it's apparently from Haymitch, the one guy who's the sponsor of Katniss. The guy who's played by.
Or you could use your credit to pre-order. There's a new Dan Brown novel which is coming out, which is going to take place in the Professor Langdon series of books. First new one that he's had come out in a while. You could pre-order that now.
You could.
That comes out, I think, in April. I think it comes out in.
You can use your credit, which you get if you use our link in the description down below. Do it.
Do it.
Do it.
Do it. Do it.
Do it.
Do it.
Do it.
Do it.
On with the show, Jordan.
Henshin.
This week.
It's time to henshin the show into the next portion.
The next portion where we go to Japan and we talk about stuff entirely in Japanese. So this week, this segment of Tokusatsu Time with Justin Jordan, the spin-off of our mini sub-spin-off of the Spur of the Moment podcast. This time, we're talking about Metal Hero, and I promised I'd talk about some Ultraman. So Metal Hero and Ultraman versus Kamen Rider and Super Sentai.
Henshin.
And how Tokusatsu Time works is it tends to be a little different. This time I have watched a selection of various Metal Hero series. I will, once we get to my bit, describe to you what makes Metal Hero different from Super Sentai and Kamen Rider, because it is different. Quite a bit different. Joe, what is your first thing?
Henshin! Well, the first thing that I watched is actually the last thing that I watched. Because I watched it not but an hour ago. Maybe an hour and a bit. I watched 3 episodes of Kamen Rider 01.
01001110.
I can't talk too much about the story about this one, being that I only watched 3 episodes. But aesthetically, I like most of the suits. The main one is a little bit neon yellow for me.
Yeah.
I like the look of it. I think it would be better red.
I love it when Kamen Rider gets back to its bug roots. That's why I love its aesthetic. So I like that's a grasshopper again because it started off as a grasshopper.
Yeah.
When it gets back to its
Or
grasshopper
if it was more like a verdant green, like a deeper green,
yeah.
I also think that would look better. It's just really the neon of it all.
Also, like, just as a series, I've seen more of it, but it's a bit disjointed. The conceit of it's like he's a CEO in training and he has to help the robots be better robots is weird. It wasn't working for me.
Not just that he has to help them be a better robot, but they're being hacked by this terrorist organization. He has to stop them from doing that because that's bad for the bottom line of the company.
Yeah, he's like.
Meanwhile, you have to
prove that the robots can be good and do good things.
Meanwhile, you have the 2 government AIM agents who are like bad, maybe.
I would say they're more neutral.
I didn't get far enough to really see. In the last one I saw, the girl was talking to what appeared to be an evil bad guy.
Yeah, eventually the CEO of the company jumps in and he's also a Kamen Rider. And it's all right. Yeah, it's not one of my favorites. I found it kind of dry personally.
But it was the first series in the Reiwa period, which is noticeable because the other thing I watched was the last one of the Heisei. So
yeah, the Reiwa it's a lot more expensive looking. The camera angles are there's a bit more to it. Some of the special effects are a bit better quality. Yeah, it definitely has a different kind of sheen to it. It's hard to explain unless you're watching it.
But my other thing is that I think the main character would grow to be tiresome.
Yeah, he's the kind of main character where he starts off really silly and then as he goes on he like has to quote grow up, one of those guys gets more serious as it goes on.
Yeah, which is also what Zio was like. Like he was really optimistic in the beginning, and by the end he was a bit more realistic and graded down. But he even when he was at his most optimistic, he wasn't like which is more what this guy is like.
To be fair, a lot of
it would get tiresome.
A lot of this season got fucked with COVID. So like I know that they had a particular idea of what they wanted to do, and then they didn't end up doing it. And I think it has less episodes. And it's apparently kind of falls a little bit in the middle. But yeah, it's not one of my favorites.
What I'm discovering as I watch these shows, and it's both Sentai and Kamen Rider, but especially with Kamen Rider, these shows live and die by how much you like the main character.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
And he, right off the bat, I found him tiresome and kind of annoying.
Yeah, like I said, it didn't work for me. I think I've got about halfway through it. I've never finished it.
That's all I can really say about this one, having only seen 3 episodes.
True. Fair.
But that's Kamen Rider 01.
011011.
Oh, that reminds me of a question that I wanted to ask, and this is about all Japanese like Kamen Rider / Sentai.
Yeah.
Why do they say random things in English?
I have no flavor. It's just for flavor a lot of times, or sometimes there just isn't a Japanese word for it.
Okay, interesting. Because that's just the thing that I've noticed. There's always like the random.
But I'm not things. Japanese. A Japanese person would probably give you a better answer. But I'm pretty from what I recollect, it's just flavor.
Okay, all right. So what's your first thingamajigger?
So Metal Hero. Let us talk about Metal Hero. So, Jordan, you're probably wondering what the difference is between Metal Hero and the rest of this stuff. Ultimately, Metal Hero it sort of takes a more militaristic approach. So it's much shorter. It ended in like I can't remember what year, but it ended quite a while before. Obviously, Kamen Rider and Super Sentai are still going because Kamen Rider, I guess, was on break, and this kind of filled the gap. And once Kamen Rider came back, they determined they were going to go with that instead because it sort of falls into like 3 categories. It's usually a science-based show with either like a robot or a cop or a space cop. So there's kind of 3 main sub-series within Metal Hero. There's the Space Sheriff series.
And these all exist in the same world, like the same universe, like the Sentai do?
Some of them kind of do, yeah, depending on... So, like, they're all kind of meant to be their own contained universes, and they weren't considered part of the Metal Hero franchise until way later. So there's the Space Sheriff Gavan. There is the Super Cops, or the Cop one, where there's a 3-part one with that. And then there's a series of ones where they're all robots, and they're all vaguely similar in their kind of rough aesthetic. Like they all look sort of more metallic, but they are kind of different and separate from each other. So I wanted to really get... There's 19 of them in total, whereas with yours, I think they're up to 60 at this point. But there's only like 20 of them. So I wanted to get a real good like cross-section of them to really explain each of them differently. And this is all leading up to... I will eventually be talking about the American equivalent of these Big Bad Beetleborgs and VR Troopers. But to start off with, we got to start off with the very first one, which we've already talked about before in the movie, but I watched the original show of Space Sheriff Gavan. Gavin. Gavan.
Gavan?
Gavan is how they pronounce it in Japanese. And he is a space cop. And the whole bit with him is his mother is from Earth and his father is from another planet, and he is the cadet of a group of space cops. That's basically what they are. And he has
he's basically Seth Rogen from Invincible.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, kind of similar. Yeah, I thought you would have gone Buzz Lightyear, but yeah, kind of. And he's been assigned to Earth to stop it, to defeat it from a particular set of bad guys whose name I can't remember. And yeah, his whole thing is he's got a super suit, and all of his weapons it's not magical powers, it's tools. And so his transformation sequence is really cool because he says his transformation sequence is metamorphosis, so Jakju, and his armor appears around him, and it does a little narration where it's like you'll notice that Space Sheriff Gavin's transformation happens in half a second. Let's see it happen like in slow motion, and it does the full sequence in like super slow motion. You see him transform, and it like explains everything. It explains who all the bad guys are, what the deal is, and it's very clear, and it's pretty fun. It's a little old in the sense that like some of the special effects, a lot of these older shows, like I don't know if you noticed it so much in Time Ranger, but the older they are, they pad for time by like repeating action sequences. So like they'll do an action piece, and then they'll super zoom in, and the camera will shake, and then they'll do the exact same thing, and it prolongs these like action sequences so they go on for way longer than necessary just to pad out time.
I don't so much notice that. I do notice, like, yeah, they especially in Time Ranger and stuff like that, they reuse the future people stuff a lot.
Yeah, where it's like there's just certain things and so a lot of the action and they do a lot of quick cuts, so the fighting just doesn't look as good. Like I find the newer these shows get, the better the fighting looks, just for whatever reason. And the monsters
that does remind me though of one thing that I liked about the one that I just talked about is I like that in that first episode, they when before he transforms, they download his brain into the computer, and it's like, oh, that's why he knows how to use all the technology and everything right away. And like they actually take the time to explain why he knows how to use this stuff.
That's what's cool about the space sheriffs is they're like highly trained military guys. So like, okay, this is why he's already kind of been using it, like he's been trained in it. So there's no like that's kind of save time. But yeah, the monsters are, like you said, confused. I think I'm maybe sent you a video of one. It's the one where I was like, you sent
me a lot of videos
like
this
week.
It's
part rat, part that scene from Beetlejuice where Alec Baldwin opens his face.
Yeah, I remember you showing me that.
Yeah. And it's like the designs are confused, and they're not. It's just a consequence. It's old. But the big thing with Metal Hero going forward is, this is the big difference between it and Kamen Rider Super Sentai, is it's geared for older people, like adults, more adults, because there's quite a bit more graphic violence in there. Not so much. I didn't get to any good stuff in this one, but like stuff explodes more. I think I sent you one from another show we're going to talk about later, where the guy was like on fire. Like you see cars crash into each other and just get decimated, and it's like they probably really did that with a car. So it's that kind of era of like a filmmaking where it's like where it's like real good practical effects, and it has the best theme song of all of these, bar none, the best theme song. That's Space Chef Gava. It's pretty good. Oh yeah, the question we're going to be asking ourselves for the shows we didn't finish is, would you finish this? Jerome, would you finish Zero One? You wouldn't finish Zero One. I would probably not finish this. I didn't. It wasn't grabbing me in quite the same way some of these other ones did. But that's it. What's your next one, Jordan? Spider-Man! That fun fact about that one. That is obviously the Japanese version of Spider-Man, Spider-Man. Which is funny. They actually do say Spider-Man, Spider-Man. I was not expecting
Spider-Man.
I've always known the show to be Spider-Man. But a lot of the shit you know from modern Power Rangers and Super Sentai, the notion of the he summons a big robot and the big robot fights a big giant monster, that comes from Spider-Man.
From Spider-Man.
Yeah, initially, Super Sentai. This is where we're gonna get some history about Super Sentai real quick. But initially, Super Sentai wasn't about fighting aliens or superpowers or summoning like your costume. No, they very much put the costumes on, and it was more of a spy show, like more akin to like you've seen it. You know that Avengers movie with Sean Connery, like that. Like that was the concept, and they signed a licensing deal with Marvel to get Spider-Man, and Marvel took a big, huge leap on it. And yeah, the summoning giant monster robot to fight the giant monster thing comes from this.
Leopard in Leopardon.
Leopardon, yeah. And off the back of this show, they were going to make a Captain America show where it was Captain America, and he was going to work with a bunch of different captains from around the world, and they would form a super team. But Marvel backed out at the last minute and made another Captain America show in the 1970s or whatever with a different company. And so that show became the very first Super Sentai show, official Super Sentai show, because Go Ranger and the other one weren't officially considered Super Sentai. That became the first official Super Sentai show, and that has the giant robot, and that has they have a bunch of vehicles and that's the very first use of that in Super Sentai, and that's all because of Marvel and Spider-Man, and that eventually, obviously, down the road leads to Power Rangers. So if you like Power Rangers, you can thank Spider-Man.
Spider-Man. But that being said, this show came out in 1978, and you can feel it.
Oh, you can tell. Yeah, the thing with Japan is these shows always look 10 years older than they are. So it looks like it's a show. It's a show from the late 1970s, early 1980s. It looks like it's a show from the 60s.
Yeah,
lovingly, but
definitely aged a bit. I had a kind of ironically, considering how much I love Spider-Man, I kind of had a hard time getting into this one. It just was a little dry for me.
Yeah, because a lot of it is probably them standing around talking as regular people. Spider-Man shows up for exactly 5 minutes at the end and does a punch, and it's not terribly interesting looking.
It's like I said, it's aged But apparently, this version of him, Yamashiro, did later appear in the comic storylines of Spider-Verse and Spider-Geddon.
That was the first Spider.
Although, from what I read, that was kind of not okay because Toei hadn't given permission for them to use them.
Now, Marvel, for a great many years, was deeply ashamed of this, and that was the first time they acknowledged that version of Spider-Man as existing.
But again, not with legal permission.
Not with legal permission, though, no. Yeah, I know that. The best part of it, from what I watched, was the robot fighting. But if you walked in on that, isolated from the rest of the show, you'd have no idea it had anything to do with Spider-Man. Because it doesn't have any cockpit footage. So it's not like it cuts to Spider-Man operating the robot. The robot just operates on its own. It's yeah. As far as model and, like, suit work goes, it looks fun. It's fun. But it's a very small segment of an otherwise quite dry show. And the fact that his catchphrase is that he's an emissary from hell is weird.
I mean, yeah. There's a lot of things that made it weird. So, fun fact. Because Spider-Man is a Marvel property, Toei was not allowed to rerun the series or use publicity stills of Spider-Man from the show without paying licensing fees to Marvel. Original characters and other elements exclusive to Toei's television series, such as the villains and giant robot Leopardon, were exempt from these licensing issues, as they were creations of Toei. As a result, only a single VHS collection of episodes, which features episodes 1 and 31 and the movie, was released in Japan during the 1980s, and reprints of the official soundtrack had the original cover of the jacket replaced with an image of Leopardon.
Yep.
The rest of the series was unavailable on home video for many years.
Yep. Yeah. That is why.
The 1995 superhero guidebook Chojin Gaho, the Superheroes Chronicle, published by Takashobo, was the last time Toei was allowed to publish a photograph of Spider-Man.
All right. Is that it?
Anytime since then, anytime they've talked about Toei's Spider-Man since, they have not used Spider-Man on any of this stuff. Apparently, in 2004. Toei was renegotiating with Marvel for the rights to do DVDs, the series on DVD.
Yep, Shout Factory eventually put them out on DVD.
The Region 2 DVD box set was released on December 9th, 2005, and has all 41 episodes.
Mm-hmm. Anyway.
Interesting.
Is that it for Spider-Man, Jordan?
Yes. Yes, it is.
Okay.
Although apparently, sorry, real quick. You remember in the Spider-Man the animated series, the gigantic robot Spider-Man?
Yes, that is a reference to Leopardon, yes.
That is supposed to be a reference to Leopardon.
Yes. Okay. So, we will be talking about VR Troopers later. VR Troopers is based on multiple of the Metal Hero shows. One of which is a show called Space Sheriff Shader. The pronunciations are rough on this. They're hard words to pronounce. And I watched about 5 episodes of it, and it was really boring. And I think I sent you the one clip, the funniest bit of it. Not funny is maybe the wrong word, but it was the bit where they were antagonizing the puppy. And there's scenes just of them playing that song over and over again. Randomly, one of the bad guys is, I couldn't tell if it was supposed to be a male character or if it was supposed to be a female character. Either way, it was definitely a male actor, and it just kind of looked like it was a man in drag. And they were Egyptian. I couldn't figure out what was going on. And it was really dull. And I'm like, and then the only real thing that was of interest is that the costume is now blue. Did I mention that the Space Sheriff's series was not considered to be part of the Metal Hero series for the longest time, right?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. So yeah, that was really boring. And I had not much to say about it, other than he's a real flippy guy. Like, compared to Gavin, he flips a lot. And he's the third of these Space Sheriffs, and he's blue. That's it. That's the most interesting bit. So I decided today to watch the first 2 episodes, and this is going to be real rapid fire, of the police side of Metal Hero. With 2 of the series, Soulbrain and Windspectre. And they are, the gimmick with them is that they again they're a department of the police. So that's the one I sent you where he looks like RoboCop. So that one, that is Soul Brain. And one of them, they're literally just emergency vehicles. So he's the police. There's a girl, and she's like a paramedic. And then there's a third one that's a robot. And this came out in the 90s. And this gives the impression that Japanese people in the 90s were really fucking bored. Or like their country, or they were just really, really safe. Because it's just really dramatic versions of rescuing people from like moderately boring danger that regular people could easily do. So like the first episode, there's an AI that like wants to take over the body of this kid. So he causes a satellite to crash into the building. And then the episode is a really long extended sequence of the guy and the girl saving people from a burning building, to the point that the girl has an oxygen mask that she puts on people's faces to make sure they're okay. And it's really, really long and really, really boring. And it's like, yeah, eventually they turn into the suits, but they don't fight bad guys. They rescue people from a building. And then I watched, okay, I'm like, okay, I'll watch the second episode. And in the second episode, the conflict is resolved with words. And it's like,
so what? So what's the third one? Do they hug it out and talk about their feelings?
The episode. Okay, this is how the plot of the episode is. There's a criminal, and his daughters are gonna break him out of prison. And they resolve it. And the whole thing is they want to know if he's changed or not, and they've determined that he's changed to become a better person because he takes care of a patch of flowers. And
is this show supposed to be for kids?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is when we get to Future of the Metal Hero, no. But this one seems to be. And so yeah, the conflict is resolved by they're like, if you don't help us stop your daughters from breaking you out of prison, we'll take away your flowers. That's how it resolves. And that's where I sent you the clip of he shows up in the suit and he shoots the two psychic women. Let's try that again. Take two. That's where I
accidentally unplugged you.
I sent you the clip of it earlier, and you were like, "Oh, it looks like RoboCop." That's the show I'm talking about, where he shows up and he fights these two psychic women who just like raise their arms, and he gets shot. And I'm like, I think this is the first one of these that I'm like, this is bad. This isn't very good. The fight sequences look like garbage. Like, they're not really fighting anything. And I don't watch these shows to watch them solve their problems with words. What do we watch these shows for, Jordan?
Crazy suits and explosions.
And watching them punch a guy. Gotta punch a guy.
Yeah, mostly the explosions.
Like, the explosions helps, but they explode when they punch a guy.
Big thing go boom.
Big thing go boom. And it's just very dull. And then the final one in this batch of these are this is a trilogy, and I think Soul Brain is the first one. No, Winspector's the first one, Soul Brain's the second one, and there's one more I didn't bother watching. Same deal. He's a cop, but the difference is now he's got two robot sidekicks who are part robot, part like, so one of them's part helicopter and one of them's part motorcycle, but they don't like transform into the motorcycle. He just is a motorcycle. So he's like running down the road, he's got a big wheel in his front, and his arms and legs are like flapping around. It looks really stupid. And
sounds really stupid.
The one guy is human. And the entire action sequence of the first episode, I didn't watch the second one, but the first one is basically just like there's a cyborg, like he's a human guy with like bad looking cyborg parts, and he kidnaps the scientist's daughter, and he's gonna drive this tanker into the science lab, blowing up the science lab and killing the daughter in the explosion. And
twisting his mustache and laughing the entire time.
No, there's no mustache, but the guy is watching on a television screen, and it periodically cuts to him cackling. Yes, it's that kind of show. And the big action sequence of the episode isn't that, like, the thing about the Space Sheriff series, like, as much as, like, Shader was not very interesting, at least they fought bad guys. Like, this ends with he's climbing up up this tanker, trying to break into the tanker to stop it, and that's kind of it. He shoots his gun at the thing as it's dying. Like, it's just not very interesting, and the robot sidekicks are not very fun. Yeah, it wasn't very good. The other thing about the Metal Hero series, the Space Sheriffs, is much like the Sentai, they have robots or vehicles. They have, like, big vehicles. So
assault vehicles.
Yeah. So, like, Space Sheriff Gavin, he's got a spaceship that he can summon, and there's always scenes of them, like, fighting. All the bad guys always have fighter pilots, and there's always scenes of them shooting at each other. And they always, like, turn into something else. So Gavin's turns into a dragon, and the Sheridan's his turns into a big gun that a laser version of him shoots. It's really dumb. Those scenes are really dumb, and they go on forever. And they're not nearly as interesting as when they fight one-on-one, because they just don't look that great. But yeah, that's it. That's my rapid fire. That's the broad spectrum of all of the Metal Heroes. There's one more subgenre within the Metal Heroes we're gonna get to, but that's it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so we'll do the Sentai first then. Okay, yeah. So my next one is called Ninpu Sentai Hurricaneger. Which for those who are from North America, that's Power Rangers Ninja Storm. But we're going to talk about the Japanese version first. So if I had one
Keep
note
talking.
About,
I'm listening. I'm going to move off camera.
If I had one, I'm trying. You keep interrupting me. If I had one note about this one, it's the same one that I would have about Power Rangers Ninja Storm, and that is that the theming is confused. Are they ninjas? Do they control elements? It just makes it a bit much for me. When, like, the entire backbone of this is that they're studying at a ninja academy, and then space ninjas show up to ruin the day. But then they also control the elements. Like, which is it? Is it ninjas, or is it elements?
Is it that their ninja powers allow them to control the elements?
Well, that's kind of the idea, I suppose. But I don't see ninjas and elementals, like elemental control. To me, those don't line up as a theme.
Fair enough. That's fair enough.
It's just it's too much. Fair enough. To the point where it's like, I don't know, maybe Ninpu is Japanese for ninja. I can't speak to that.
I think it might be.
But having Hurricaneger, to me, just doesn't make me think ninja.
Fair enough. I mean, you could have just made it where they just put elemental Sentai.
Yeah, that's my thing.
I think it's Hurricane Ninja is what it translates to.
Well, it's because they're supposed to be learning at the Wind Ninja Academy.
Yes, that makes sense.
So it's like elemental ninja, but it's just, to me, again, it's confused. It's too much. It's a weird combination.
How is this series over? How many episodes did you watch?
Also, to answer your question of would I continue watching the Spider-Man, had I grown up in the 70s and seen this, probably. Nowadays, I can't.
Oh yeah, right. I forgot about that. But yeah, no, I wouldn't finish any of this series I talked about last. No.
Now, as for this, I watched 6 episodes of this one. Do you like Power Rangers Ninja Storm? Because that's pretty much what this is, from what I saw. Like it's a fairly accurate comparison. There's some slight differences, but this is going to come down to a culture thing. I find it easier to relate to the Power Rangers.
Fair enough.
Because they're emoting in a language that I understand.
Also fair enough.
So a lot of the humor and a lot of the jokes and stuff that come from the English version mean more to me than the ones in this.
Also fair. Also fair.
But to answer your question of would I finish this one? Probably not. I have other things I'd rather watch first.
Also fair. Also fair. Is that it for...
It's really all I have to say about this one. It's fine.
How many more do you have?
I have the Japanese version of Time Ranger.
Yeah.
And then I'm button hooking it. Whoops, I didn't mean to close that. I'm button hooking it with the High Side Generations Forever.
Gotcha.
Is my last rapid fire because that's technically Zeo. So.
Okay. So I've got one more than you. No, that's okay. I'll combine them into one.
And then I have my 2 half scenes, which are just the Power Ranger versions of the things that I'm currently talking about.
We're gonna do 4 movies or 4 things, but we're gonna do them in 2 sections. So okay. So, VR Troopers is based on, like I said, 3 Metal Hero series. We're going to talk about how they're adapted when we get to VR Troopers. But the other 2 that is based on, and this is the English translated names. It is not the Japanese name. I wouldn't do that to you. But it is 2 series called Dimensional Warrior Spellbond and Super Android Metal Dar. And again, these series kind of come in multiple flavors. So the Super Dimensional Warriors is kind of similar to Space Cops, where the Space Sheriffs, where they're a warrior. They're from like a military-esque group, and they've come to Earth to fight a particular bad guy. In this case, they've come to fight. In the case of we'll do Dimensional Warrior Spellbond. He has come to stop these, and this is where it's funny. The bad guys who want water. They want water. They feel that water is a rare element, and they've come to Earth to get our water, even though we have a shit ton of it. And they, in particular, and a lot of these shows go out of their way to explain why these creatures are attacking only Japan, and it's because Japan has extra special water. And so this show, the distinction with this show is, and I should say the 2 police ones, is it's a group. With Space Sheriff, it's usually he's the one who transforms, and he's got a female assistant, a hot female assistant. But she never transforms. So the distinction with this one is she also transforms. So he has his own costume, and so does she. But he does most of the killing. So he's the one who gets to destroy the monsters. He's the one where he's got all the vehicles and all the weapons. Like, she's got a couple of weapons, but that's kind of it. And yeah, the bit is they have a suit, they put on a suit, and they tell you how they transform in the suit. And same deal, they fight monsters. Now, Dimensional or Super Android Metaldar, his gimmick is he is a robot. So his whole bit is when he exceeds a certain power threshold, he becomes his robot form. And when he's his robot form, that allows him to use all the different vehicles and all the different what have yous. And he is kind of like, his story is kind of similar to, you remember Astro Boy?
Yes.
So there's a scientist, and his scientist died in the Pacific, or the scientist has a son, and the son died in the Pacific War. So the robot Speldar, and I'm pronouncing it horribly, but he is the son effectively, and yeah, he fights this evil army. But the thing is, and the reason why I'm like, oh, this is kind of more for older kids to adults, is because they're robots. This one in particular, Spellbond, is violent. Like, one of the first guys he fights, he like punches his arm, and the arm just like caves in, and he rips the arm off, and then he like decapitates the thing, and it's like, it's a human in a costume, so it's pretty violent, but it's like, you're supposed to be like, oh, you can get away with this because it's a robot. And a lot of times, like, when they hit guys with the weapons, they'll like slice limbs off, or like you'll see the sword like go through their body, or stuff like, or you'll see them explode, stuff like that. So you're like, it's a lot of like, how did you manage to make this for children in America? Like, unlike Super Sentai, where like they go to hit a guy and then it cuts and then you see the guy reacting as if he got hit. This show, you actually see them get hit. That's the difference, if that makes sense.
So Sam Snoswell, which as an aside, I love that name, in the comments says, I would like to see a new reboot for Kamen Rider adaptation in the US.
Yes, absolutely. We'll take this aside to do that. Yes, there's no reason, Jordan, you've watched a few of these seasons, right? Now you can maybe, there is no reason why Kamen Rider, as it is, can't be one-to-one adapted to America. Any of these seasons will work. Not at least the ones that aren't super referential. Like obviously, like Zio is referential, but
the biggest contention for problems of why it might be tricky is because, but this is simple enough in just that so far as the fact that nowadays you send the suit over and you reshoot some of the suit scenes.
Yeah,
but in a lot of the ones that I've seen, they spend a lot of time in very Japanese locations.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm talking about like adapting it in the way you would a Power Rangers, where you just use suit footage, you use monster footage, and then you borrow the suits and you reshoot occasional bits of American footage. But that's what I mean.
I think you could. I don't think it would be any harder than doing Power Rangers.
No, that's my thing. Like, they've tried, and we're gonna get into why I believe Saban's adaptations of non-Sentai stuff didn't work. We're gonna get into that later. But
it didn't work because the North American audience sees one size fits all. They see something that looks like it, and they just think of Power Rangers.
No, well, at least not in my opinion. That's not why I think those series didn't work. We're gonna get there. Don't worry. They absolutely could have. You could have adapted. Anyway, we're gonna get there. Don't worry. But anyway, it is truly remarkable that Saban, like Sentai, I get right. Sentai, I get. Watching Jew Ranger, or Time Ranger, and being like, I can make this into Power Rangers. Like I could see how this could be made for an American children. It's a bit rough around the edges, but I could see where you could do the cuts. These are unbelievably violent. Like like for these kind of shows, in a way that you're like, how did Saban do to what they did to this? How did they do that? Like anyway, but yeah. I would, to answer my own question, I would watch these. I would watch Spielborn. I really liked his action. His fight sequences were really good. The only stuff that sucks is the vehicle stuff, and that's just because it looks old and none of it's very interesting looking. But when he gets to fight guys hand to hand, it's interesting and it's fun. What's your next thing?
My next thing is Mirai Sentai Time Ranger.
Ah, yes. I've always wanted to watch that one.
Which is just Time Force. A thing that I noticed both about the previous one, the Hurricane, and this one is both of them in the Japanese version. The bad guy is a monster in a suit monster.
Yeah.
Which when they take it to English, I don't know about the Ninja Storm, but definitely with Time Force, the thing that is the big bad boss in this one is just a minion in the English version, which really just speaks to how serious they feel, because they don't feel like a big bad guy for me.
Having not finished Time Ranger, I think Time Ranger is one of those shows where because the trajectory of these shows is always, or at least always tends to be, we joked about it, but by like episode 20, the first like 20 episodes set up the status quo of the show, introduces you to each of the characters, tells you their backstories, who they are, what their deal is, and their relationship to each other. By like episode 20, 25-ish, they start to introduce the seeds of what is the Sixth Ranger. And that is your first major status quo change. And then by like episode 30, 34, there's another status quo change where they shake up the bad guys. And then they do like a final kind of status quo. And then the last 5 to 10 episodes. There's one more status quo change where you're like, how is it possible there's 4 to 5 more episodes to get left? How is this possible? They just beat the big bad guy. I'm really confused. And then the show ends.
I would agree with that. I only watched 6 episodes of Time Ranger. But right from the beginning, there was definitely there were definitely some differences between the two. More on that when we get to the English versions.
My point was though that I suspect that the frog, the big box frog guy, probably isn't the final bad guy of that show. In fact, I think it's the robot. Like, I think the.
Oh yeah, I mean, if it's anything like the English version, eventually the robot betrays them in both versions. I'm sure.
Yeah. I think he kills the frog and he becomes the big bad guy. I think.
But my point was more that even in terms of the Rancic is a stand-in for the frog guy.
Yeah,
they're the same character. Rancic is a much more interesting villain.
Oh yeah, I mean, the thing about
which is why in the English version the frog guy isn't Rancic anymore. The frog guy is just a sidekick. He's your Goldar or your whatever, like your not Goldar.
Is he still in the main staple? He's not a random episode of the week monster. He's like within the main group.
he shows up in the second episode and he's in the main group.
Oh, interesting. How interesting. That's fascinating. Because I knew that the frog guy was in Time Force, but I remember him getting downgraded to like a minion.
Yeah, he is. He's a minion of Rancic. He's in the background.
No, but what I mean, like a minion, like an episode minion, where he's just a bad guy for one
episode. Oh, no. He's like like I said, your Goldar.
Yeah.
Or your.
I didn't know that. That's interesting.
You're one of those, yeah. Okay. I mean, he hasn't done much yet. He's just kind of there.
That's pretty funny.
But
yeah,
yeah.
They're very close, from what I recall. We'll get there, but
they're quite close. But again, I'll go more into what the differences are when I get the English versions.
See, what I did with some of them is like I wanted to see a particular segment of it, so I skipped to it. Like Time Fire, I think is probably more to my knowledge. He's cooler. He's the Time Ranger's. Quantum
Ranger.
Yeah, it's Time Fire. That's his name.
I didn't get to him.
He does his intro is exactly the same. Like yeah, he's also pretty cool. But yeah, that's one of those ones I've always wanted to watch. That and Mega Ranger. It's been on my like radar. Maybe next season I'll watch it. We'll see. Anything else, Jordan, about that?
No. I mean, I will say some of the characters I find to be more interesting in the English version. Some of the characters I find to be less irritating in the Japanese version. Like the Pink Ranger is less irritating in the Japanese version.
Fair.
Because at least from what I saw, they don't seem to do the whole she's in love with the Red Ranger shtick.
Fair.
Which is good because I hated that plot line. It was always a kind of creepy and annoying one, where it's like, oh yeah, you fell in love with the red cop from the future, then you came to the past, and you fell in love with his great however many greats it is, grandpa.
Creepy.
Like that, it's weird. That's a weird choice.
Also, that's not how genetics work. You don't just you won't look exactly like
a children's show,
right? Also, that's just not how genetics work. You don't look like exactly like your ancestors. That's not how anything works.
I mean, no, not unless there's some fry going on there.
It's true. Anyway, Jordan, is that it for that? Is that it for that one?
That is it for that one until we get to the Power Rangers versions, and then we'll touch back on these. So,
my second part of this is, last time we did this, I talked about a little series called Ultraman, which I declared to be convoluted and confusing, and a lot of comments got upset with me when I said that. I stand by it. Anyway, I said that...
Hashtag doubling down.
Doubling down. I stand by that opinion. I even more so after I watched... But anyway, so I was requested that I check out Ultraman Orb. And then I was watching Ultraman Orb, and that made me want to watch another one what called Ultraman Geed. So I watched a few episodes of each because I was like I really am enjoying Ultraman Orb. It's quite a bit simpler. Each of the episodes break like there's the characters it's like you said, where it's like these shows live or die by their main characters. And so the main characters for this one are like a psychic group, and the Ultraman character is like deep and mysterious, and like you're like, what's his deal? And he just kind of he's not on the Wikipedia article. He's described as a secondary character, which is very odd. But it's like usually like there's like a mystery of like something extra normal or supernatural is happening, and it's usually being caused by a monster. And then Ultraman shows up and he stops him. And the gimmick this time is he's got cards that have the various Ultraman's powers on them, and he puts it in his thing, and then they merge together, and he becomes Ultraman Orb, and he fights monsters. And there's the evil guy who he has a similar device, which allows him to summon the monsters. So he summons fused versions of the classic monsters, so the monsters get to be similar looking and vaguely iconic looking, but also still be different. And they have a history. They know each other. And this is where, like, the breakdown of Ultraman gets confusing for me, because, like, it's always confusing as, okay, so the Ultramen are their own deal, and when they fuse with the human, they like, exist in the human, and when they get summoned, they come out, like, they appear. But some of them are the Ultramen all the time, but they just happen to have a human form. So their actual form is the actual Ultraman form, but they can walk around as a human in human form. And so, like, that's when I said, like, I think I said to you, sometimes it seems like this stuff has happened in other things off screen and other things that I didn't see. So Ultraman Orb has an origin series, which is like 14 episodes long, which explains that the guy who becomes Ultraman Orb is like an alien guy from another planet, and him and the evil guy were like lined up to become Ultraman Orb, but the light, or to become an Ultraman, but the light chose the one guy, and he's the one who became Ultraman Orb. And the reason why the bad guy is the bad guy is because he didn't get to become Ultraman.
Sounds petty.
Yeah. And I was like, this is pretty fun. And like I said, the episodes themselves are relatively simple, and the characters are really fun. The guy who's Ultraman Orb is really funny because he'll just like randomly show up, and the other characters are like, where did you come? How did you? What? But he's quite funny. But yeah, so then I made me want to watch Ultraman Geed. And Ultraman Geed is... So last time we talked about Evil Ultraman. Well, there's a series where it turns out that Evil Ultraman had a son who is somehow also human. And that son discovers Evil Ultraman's spaceship, which gives him this device, which he uses capsules. Which, same deal. He combines the two of them, and the two powers combine, and he gets the powers of the two Ultraman, and it becomes Ultraman Geed. But what makes this fun... So this is a sequel to the movie a series of movies where they beat Evil Ultraman. And one of the characters from that, his name is Ultraman Zero. He shows up as a main character on this show, but he is injured. And part of the deal with Ultraman is they can, again, merge with humans to save their lives. So they always choose a good human who's doing something good but is about to die. So the character that Ultraman Zero chooses to merge with is like a real dork. Like, just like a real nerd. Like a really goofy nerd kind of character.
So like you.
Yeah, but like you know that I can't think of a good comparison, but you know that Japanese like style character. He's a real goofball.
Otaku.
Maybe, yeah. I don't know what the actual term is, but he's a real silly guy, basically. I guess like Tristan almost, or Joey, but just like a really silly guy. And so Kamen Rider, Ultraman Zero,
like a Big the Cat.
Maybe, yeah. But Ultraman Zero merges with him to save his life. And so there are scenes where Ultraman Zero takes over his body, and he takes off his glasses, and he becomes ultra confident. And like, so there's a bunch of scenes where he beats up like bad guys or whatever. Like, he sees this woman being mugged, so he stops to help save her. And just the flip flop between his personality was like, I was really enjoying it, and I really enjoy the character. There's kind of a solid mystery. I feel a little lost because I very definitely feel dropped in the middle of a story where I feel like if I had seen all those movies, I would understand way more of this. But Ultraman Geet himself is very funny, and it's very fun, and the action sequences are not bad. Ultraman Zero is very funny. I would totally finish this.
Okay.
Yeah, I understand. Maybe probably more than Orb. I'm kind of enjoying it more than Orb, but like I'm actually legit like this is really fun. I'm actually really enjoying this. I had fun. That's it. That's my last one.
Do you have anything else to say about that one?
I don't. You have one more, right?
I have one more rapid fire, and then we move on to the have scenes.
To the have scenes.
So my last one was a movie. Kamen Rider Heisei Generations Forever.
I want to watch that movie. It looked fun.
Which was a Zeo build crossover one, but it also has casts of Den-O and Rider W. They're also in it.
Ooh, Kamen Rider W.
And it has some lead actor voices from other ones as well in cameo roles. And plot of it is basically here. There's the little blurb here, which I can read. Sugo Tokiwa, with Kamen Rider Zeo, and Sento Kiryu, who is Kamen Rider Build, must join forces with all Kamen Riders of the Heisei era against Tid, a Super Time Jaka, who intends to erase the entire history of the Heisei Kamen Riders. And so in the movie, one of the characters wishes that he can see Kamen Riders. So the Kamen Riders come to the real world, and they have to stop the Super Time Jacker from erasing all of them. And it's just a romp, Justin. It's just a delightful, like, hour and a half-ish romp. Hold on, I can tell you. 100-minute romp.
So, I don't suppose... I asked you this question. You don't know if that was the summer movie that year. The best way to tell us, does 01 show up in that movie at all?
No.
No, interesting. Because he would show up in the summer movie. That's where they typically get their big debut.
It's referred to in this as part of the movie war line.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Of the Kamen Rider series.
Fair enough. How many different Kamen Riders show up in this? It's just Kamen Riders, right? No Sentai in this one?
There's no Sentai in this one. Wait, was there crossover between Kamen Rider and Sentai?
Oh yeah, I talked about it in the last episode.
Huh. No, this one was just Kamen Rider.
It's
specifically
Superhero Tekken.
Specifically Kamen Rider of the Heisei era. So it has hold on. What's going to be the easiest way to do this? Okay. You've got from the Zeo cast, you've got Sugo as Zeo.
I was just kind of
you've got.
I was just kind of looking for the different Kamen Riders that were in it.
That's what I'm giving you.
I don't need the whole cast of all of their shows. Just the individual riders.
I'm giving you the riders. Gotcha. That's where I'm looking at the cast list to get the rider. Sugo is a rider.
Yeah. Just the rider name would.
Jays is a rider. Those two don't transform in it. From the build cast, you've got Sento Kiryu, who I think was a rider.
All right, okay, so build's in it. All right.
It's a build / Zeo crossover is what it's.
I guess of the old riders is who I'm looking for. I don't need their individual cast.
I don't know. It doesn't in this list. It just gives you the cast one, so I don't know what rider they are. So Ryotaro Nogami.
That would mean nothing to me. You'd just be wasting your time.
Okay, well then I can't help you.
Okay, guess we're doing this myself. Okay. What was the name of the movie?
You've got Kamen Rider Agato, Kamen Rider Ryuki, Kamen Rider Decade, Kamen Rider Ghost. Those are there in voice capacity.
Oh, really? So they don't actually physically show up. You just see them in suits.
Futaros, Momotoros,
Oh yeah, that's from Deno.
Uratos,
That's from Deno.
Kintaros,
That's from Deno.
Ryutaros,
That's from Deno.
another double. And then yeah, you've got the Agato, the ones that I previously read.
Agato.
Those are the voiceover roles.
Agato.
There's yeah, I think that's most of the ones that are in it.
So is this after the show or like during the show?
Doesn't specifically say.
Interesting. You can use.
I wasn't. That's where I was like I couldn't tell because
it depends. Sometimes
there was things in it that made me think that it might be like when they're forgetting who they are and they're existing in the real world, but they don't remember their stuff. Guys and the girl, like they show up in their school outfits,
like a lot of times,
which is like at the end of the show.
Yeah,
but
it would depend on.
But Waz and Gaze and them, they don't turn into their second forms. They're in their first forms. So
a lot of these movies, like they have what's called a summer movie festival, or roadshow, where the Kamen Rider and the Sentai, they'll tour their movies together, and usually those movies take place after the show. So like as an example. And then they will have one where it comes like mid-year, and that's what it sounds like this is, and that usually takes place during the show.
This came out December 22nd, 2018.
Yeah, so it came out during the show. And so the summer one, usually like that's how the show ends. So like with Decade, his show ends on a big cliffhanger, and then that cliffhanger resolved in his movie. Or like Forze, he's got a movie where there's a girl Forze that shows up, and he's now older. That takes place after, and so he has all the powers he has on the show. Or like, Gaim has a one where he comes back. He leaves at the end of that series and goes off and does something, and it has him coming back, and now he's normal again, and it takes place after the show. So yeah, sometimes you can usually tell because there'll be like an in-story explanation, especially if it's like the show ends with the character losing their powers. There'll be like like how do you have your powers back line. It's usually how you can tell.
I don't think that was the point of this one, considering they were like coming to the real world and everything.
Yeah, that tells me that it was a mid-year movie. That it was like because they started doing the spectacle movies like your superhero Tysons and that they considered to be more of a movie than just an extension of the show.
All I know is that this was fun, and I enjoyed it. It was a silly, fun little like self-contained thing, which didn't need to make sense.
Self-aggrandizing. This is about the history of our show and celebrating this part of the history of this show.
So I had fun with it. It's on Tubi, so it's easy to find.
It's like that Super Sentai movie where it's all the Super Sentais, and it's just so you could see all of the costumes punching each other.
Yeah, pretty much.
And that's fine. That's all you need some days.
That's all I really have to say about this one. It was fun.
That's it, Jordan. That's it for me.
So we're on to the have scenes.
Yes, we are.
Okay. Shall I go first?
Sure.
Okay. So we already touched on these with the Japanese version, so this shouldn't take too long. I watched Power Rangers Ninja Storm as a companion to Hurricaneger. And yeah, they are remarkably similar in a lot of ways. The biggest change really is that the bad guy is a human in this one as well.
Yeah.
There's what I would constitute as small changes. So like in the Japanese version, the sensei's child is a daughter instead of a boy.
Oh.
In the Japanese version, the daughter never transforms, whereas in the English version, they use time travel shenanigans, and he ends up turning into the samurai.
Yeah.
I believe that's not a
Ninja.
thing. That's not a thing, apparently, or at least it's not the sensei's child.
No,
in the original version.
The character very much is in the Japanese version. He's not American,
but it's not. But it's not the sensei's child. Is more my point.
Yeah, I don't know who it is in the Japanese version, but
I just know that it's not the sensei's child.
Very much a boy. That much I could say. So yeah, it's definitely not. Yeah. He's really
What
dope.
else?
I love his. That is honestly, if you watch that season, very earned because he's incredibly frustrated the whole time that he can't do anything.
The other thing that's different that I would say anyway, and kind of different, but also not different. Different in methods, I guess I would say, culturally different, and in sort of an interesting way. So the Blue Ranger, the Girl Ranger, in both versions, they portray her as like she's the pretty girl. Like that's kind of her thing, right? Is like she's an attractive, pretty girl. But in the Japanese version, they do that in the way of like she's an idol. So she does modeling and she does like wears fancy clothes and like that's her shtick. Whereas in the American version, it's way more base. She wears a bathing suit a lot of the time and is a surfer girl and is pretty.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting to me how they're both saying the same thing. Ultimately,
the other funny bit is that's when they start. Well, that's when they. I believe that's the season where they started filming in New Zealand. So you mentioned the fact that the Power Rangers show takes place in a coastal city, but the Japanese footage is very much in Tokyo.
Blue Bay Harbor.
Yeah. It's like
with palm trees and like very much it's supposed to feel like Hawaii.
In the context. Well, I would have said Southern California, but it's supposed to be a beach side, and the Japanese footage is very much Tokyo. And it's just not. It's just not. It's not the same. It's not
to the point where, and this is a thing that like this, you only notice this if you watch the Sentai and then watch this. Like it's noticeable for me because I watched them back to back. But there's in one of the episodes in the Power Rangers, obviously they use the Sentai footage, and so the monster is a magnet monster, and he's like magnetizing everything, and he magnetizes a bunch of people into statues. Which in the Japanese version, he's in Tokyo, so it's not weird that all the people that he happens to gather are Asian. In the American version, the monster is racist.
It's weird that monster is racist.
The monster is specifically attacking Asians, and only the Asians get made into the statue.
He's weirdly racist.
Specifically the Japanese people. He really doesn't like the Japanese people.
The other thing you begin to notice is, and I really noticed this in mine, but like the resolution on the Japanese footage just looks worse. So you immediately notice when it goes to the Japanese footage, especially when you watch a lot of these shows, you really start to notice it. You're like, oh man, this looks rough.
And an impressive thing about this show, which I didn't notice, which kind of speaks to the talent. I only know this because you pointed it out, and I'm now reading the cast list, and I see the same thing. But the fact that the sensei is also the person who plays Lothar,
they're both the same actor.
is impressive to me.
Yeah, they're both played by the same actor. He's really good. He's really good in this. They also, I don't think he stays. Also, I mean, there's a lot of similar, like the fact that one of the daughters looks just, or one of the nieces, I should say, looks just like the Japanese version, except for obviously she's not Japanese. That I found that to be kind of impressive because it was like that would have been a very easy change to make when switching over to the American version.
I mean, it would have been even easier if they had just gotten, for the American scenes, if they had gotten someone who looked Asian, especially because you had an Asian guy who was playing Lothar.
Right.
You easily could have just gotten another Asian person to play the two nieces, like who look similar enough to the Japanese version that when you cut it, then you could have literally just had the Japanese scenes for a lot of those.
Right.
For the fight scenes, you get someone who's Asian, and then when they're fighting, you can't tell who the people fighting are.
I will say when you although sometimes they circumvent that by giving them a monster form, but like a lot of times with the human bad guys is you don't quite get the big final conflict that you're looking for. Like I think they just push him back into like a hole or whatever. Like they don't do a big fight with him at the end of it, and that's you kind of like that's what you
want. In the English version, from what I remember, they push him into a hole. I think he falls and then he turns into like a big monster form or something.
No, I don't think I'm pretty sure they don't do a big monster form fight with him.
Let's see.
I know that they don't with Ransaking Time Force. The final monster they fight is the robot guy.
The Rangers are selected to showcase their respective talents in the U.S. action games Meanwhile, Lothor prepares the final stages of a scheme set in motion by destiny itself as he seeks to unleash the evils. Yada 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 yada.
I recall hearing that the
He's
ending to
behind
this
a
is not
radically
very good.
changed Sensei. Rangers unite, releasing every evil they have faced and more. When it's all over, the Rangers face Lothor. It doesn't really say. It just said the summary just says they face Lothor.
Yeah, I just remember they push him into a hole, and that's how they beat him. I've only ever seen the Linkara History of Power Rangers. I've only ever seen him talk about it. Never actually watched it, and from my recollections, I recall it not being very good.
I remember watching it once, but it was years ago. During that period when I tried to watch them all.
Oh yeah. I've never made it. I think I made it as far as Wild Force because that's when it starts to get bad. Because Wild Force is really bad. Like compared to.
I think that's when I burned out because I know that I did that at one point because I'm aware I watched Mystic Force.
No. Well, Mystic Force you watched on. You went through a period where you were watching random ones, and you just happened to pick Mystic Force.
I don't know. All I know is that I've seen it, and it was actually pretty good from what I remember.
Mystic Force is quite good.
Not the point of this, but
those Disney seasons, some of them because they try to move wildly away from the source material. Some of them are genuinely really good. Others are bad.
And
like Power Rangers.
And yes, you're right. This was the first to be filmed in New Zealand.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And it was the first not to be produced by MMPR Productions, and the first to be on air on ABC Kids.
Because I believe you're correct that Wild Force is the first Disney one. But yeah, I was pretty sure that Ninja Storm was the first one because they're all New Zealand actors. They're all scale New Zealand. Like I think they're all paid scale, and they're all local New Zealand actors. That's actually where the
production locations: New Zealand, Wellington, Auckland, to be specific.
Yeah.
And then Japan, Greater Tokyo area, Tokyo, Saitama,
that's the Sentai
Yokohama,
footage.
And Kyoto. I know. I'm just saying that's what it says here.
Yeah, the all of the actors on that show are from New Zealand. Like I pointed it out, but Tori, if you listen, you can hear her New Zealand accent at points. And that's in fact
RPM. You can. I've never been able to pick up on things like that.
Some people, if you listen carefully, you can. But the girl who's on iZombie, she is the yellow RPM Ranger because she is from New Zealand.
I remember you mentioning that. Yeah.
Yeah. That's why, because she was a local New Zealand actor, and they used local New Zealand actors and actresses for those seasons because it's cheaper.
That checks.
But anyway, is that Ninja Storm, Ranger form.
Yes, it is.
Okay. So.
Oh, the other. Sorry, real quick. The other thing that I think the Power Rangers shows have over the Japanese ones, theme songs are both banger.
I mean, yes, but this was the period of time where the theme songs Power Rangers did get bad, like the Disney era ones. This is still when they were good.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, in terms of comparing these to the Japanese ones.
Yeah, I mean,
these are better.
They do hit sometimes, but they hit less often. I will say, yeah.
No, but I'm talking specifically
about these ones, the theme songs. But yes, okay, no, that's fair. That is fair. Okay, so as we all know, Jordan's already talked about the Power Rangers. Saban created the Power Rangers by taking the footage from Sentai and turning it into Power Rangers. Well, Saban made 3 other attempts at this. He did a show called Masked Rider, VR Troopers, and Big Bad Beetleborgs. I will be talking about 2 of them today. The first of which being VR Troopers. Hit the theme song. Part of it anyway. So VR Troopers, Jordan. VR Troopers went through a lot of a lot of different changes and stuff. But it is the combination of use of footage of 3 shows, like I mentioned. Space Sheriff Scheider, a Dimensional Warrior Spielbahn, and Super Android Metaldar. For the first season, it's Metal Dar and the Dimensional Warrior Spielbahn, and then the second season, that's when they introduced the Shadar. And they fight an evil bad guy called Grimlord, and he's an evil businessman. he becomes Grimlord and he goes to the virtual dimension where he has armies of bad guys, and they all turn into VR troopers and they fight. And because this is using footage from 2 different shows, the 3 of them never fight together. Ever.
Ever.
When they're in their like VR trooper forms, they never work together. Because 2 of them are from a different show. And remember how I said earlier that the Dimensional Hero, he really does more of the killing? Because he's the main guy of that show. She's really more his assistant. So she, in the American version, never gets to kill a bad guy. They do. And so the show constantly goes out of its way to contrive reasons for them to split up. Because in the action footage, they're never together because it's 2 different shows.
That makes sense. I mean, it's dumb, but it makes sense.
And so the interesting bit about this show, and the frustrating bit about this, and this carries over into Big Bad Beetleborgs, is Saban, like, they could have made this sustainable, but they insisted on mashing 2 different shows together. Like the Space Sheriff and the Dimensional Hero show is literally a monster shows up, causes a problem, they fight the monster leaves. It's 1,000 episodes of Power Rangers. Like, the thing of when you watch enough Power Rangers, enough of those shows, it, like you say, them fighting the monsters starts to become the least interesting bit about it.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you see it 1,000 times back to back to back to back, you just sort of realize it's the same 3 shots over and over.
Right.
Again.
It's like the characters are the most interesting part. Like, you're right. You're absolutely right about that. And so,
if you don't like the characters, you're really not going to get into the show.
Right. So you can take 1 season of this show and just do that. Introduce side characters, utilize the footage from one of these shows, right? And make it about... Yeah. And so this show, interestingly enough, originally was a Jason David Frank vehicle.
Oh.
So initially, initially he was going to play... one of the main characters is a character named... hold on, what's the character's name?
Oh.
Brad Hawkins. Ryan Steele. He's a character named Ryan Steele. And you remember when on Power Rangers, Tommy dies, right? His character gets killed off, the Green Ranger?
Yeah, well, I remember him losing his powers. I don't remember him dying.
Well, they write it off. He gives the power. He gives what's left of the powers to the Red Ranger. That's when the Red Ranger has the shield, and he wasn't going to come back. And then that character was so popular.
Again, not so much that he died, but
anyway. the Green Ranger dies in the Japanese version, but
I mean in the American.
Yeah. The character left is the point. He left, and he wasn't going to come back. But the character was so popular that they brought him back as the White Ranger. Well, initially, Saban liked Jason David Frank so much, they were going to give him a show called, I believe it was called Cyclonus, is what it was called. Hold on.
That's a stupid name.
Cybertron, that's what it was called. Initially it was going to be called Cycon, and then they were going to call it Cybertron. And then, initially in the pilot skip for Cycon, Adam Steele was going to merge with the cyborg instead of transforming into it. And the bad guy footage is taken from the robot show, the Metal-Dar, that show. And in that show, the bad guy is a Japanese businessman who transforms into this guy and uses it. And the thing about the robot show, about Metal Hero generally, is there's a lot of different characteristics that carry on from show to show. So the difference between, like, say... one of the things that is consistent is there's a main group of bad guys, but there's subgroups in each of these bad guys. So, like, there's in Metal-Dar, there's like a robot army, and then there's like a biological army, and then there's like a magic army, and they are each sub-generals of the main bad guys. So it kind of prevents them from getting boring, because in one episode they're fighting robot guys, and in the next episode they're fighting like evil alien guys, and they're all kind of like that. And so initially it was going to be a thing where he merged with him, and they changed it. They rewrote it to a pilot called Cybertron, and that was the one that was going to have Jason David Frank, and he was going to be Adam Steele, and it was just going to be based on the one show. And the reason why this show ultimately got canceled was because they say, I don't believe them, but they say that they ran out of footage. and that's why it ran out. But there's 19 of these shows. There's enough footage you could have continued this into other and done the other ones where the robot where the guy's a robot and make it so it's like Power Rangers and you change the costumes each season. Like you absolutely could have like continued on.
But clearly it wasn't gaining enough traction because Power Rangers was just too popular.
That's what I'm saying though is as a sub thing, the way they approach this is the reason they say they canceled it was not because of lack of popularity. In fact, at a point, Big Bad Beetleborgs, we'll get there and we'll get to Big Bad Beetleborgs, was more popular than Power Rangers. They say that the only reason why this show ended was because they ran out of footage. And less
Press X to doubt.
But I doubt, because there is enough, but to be fair, a lot of this footage is old, and that was another problem with this show, is the footage that they were using was 10 years old. And so it does, and when they switch over, you can absolutely tell when it switches to the Japanese footage, because it looks way older, and that is a problem. But I'm just saying if they could have utilized the footage for each of these individual shows better, I guess. But they really wanted to. The goal of these shows is to replicate the team aspect of it, instead of being like, well, no, you don't have to do a team. You can do a team aspect of it, but one of the guys can transform, and you can have a cast of characters that surround him. Like Kamen Rider works like that, right? Like often one of the guys is the guy who transforms, maybe two, and the cast of the characters that surround him support that, and you still have that team dynamic.
But in North America, Justin, it's all about selling toys and merchandising and having a team of 5 people that can turn into different colors and different weapons sells way more toys than one guy who transforms.
So in the second season,
quite frankly, that's why these didn't do as well in North America, is because of capitalism.
Oh yeah. It's the same reason why I'm surprised Ultraman has never caught on. Because I'm like, so many of these elements would be so easy to just transfer into a power. And to be fair, they've tried multiple times with Kamen Rider. Like I say, they had the Masked Hero series, but then they tried again with a series called Kamen Rider Dragon Knight. And I couldn't get into that show because in order to transform, they said Kamen Rider. And it drove me crazy. You've watched enough of this to know that probably would bother you too. Like, no, just say Henshin.
Or transform.
But no, Henshin sounds sufficiently like foreign sounding, like, like a secret code word. Like Kamen Rider, it's like if the Power Rangers said Power Rangers to turn into the Power Rangers. That's dumb.
More phenomenal.
I meant to. With Bad Beetleborgs, I skipped ahead a bit. I wanted to skip to season 2 of this because he does change in season 2. Ryan, the main character, he changes to being the shader, so he's blue. The blue
Ryan.
Guy.
Ryan.
Yeah, he changes his outfit, but yeah, the action sequences are disconnected. They don't look good, and like it's one of those things that's funny because obviously you don't notice this stuff when you're a kid. But the thing I remember thinking about this when I was a kid was that the bad guy was scary.
Uh-huh.
The sequence of him turning into the bad guy, I remember being like, that was thinking that was scary. But otherwise, I don't remember thinking much of this. Do you remember this?
No, not even a little bit.
You don't remember VR Troopers? If I showed it,
no.
Do you think if I showed it to you, you would?
You've showed me clips of it before. No, I have no memory of it.
No, you have no memory of it. Interesting, very interesting. Yeah, that's VR Troopers. That's the first half of Saban's attempts at non-Power Rangers tokusatsu. Stay tuned for Big Bad Beetleborgs coming when you're watching the YouTube video now. Jordan, what's your next thing?
Well, Justin, I think it's Time Force. Time Force,
in my opinion, is of the OG Saban era, probably the best.
I think it's the best. It's definitely one of my favorites.
Like, okay. I don't know if have we done this, Jordan? Have we done this bit? Okay, we're gonna do it again if we've already done it. The original first season of Power Rangers is not as good as you remember it. Is objectively not the best season of Power Rangers. It's all right. if in the original Mighty Morphin, the best season of Power Rangers is probably season 3 because that's when they hit peak drama and the storytelling was genuinely good. Of the original OG Saban seasons of Power Rangers, the best is probably Time Force, or close second, Power Rangers in Space. Am I wrong?
For Time Force.
Now, of the newer series, no. I mean, I think RPM is genuinely one of the best series of seasons of Power Rangers.
I just generally think Time Force is one of the best of all of them.
It is I think Time Force is one of the best, if not the best. It's really good.
Definitely in the top 5, I would say.
Certainly top 5
of all 5, like of all time Power Rangers.
I would go top 3.
I would go top 3 as well.
I'd go top 3.
But I really enjoy Time Force. It's definitely one of my favorites. So some of the differences between it and the Japanese version are kind of funny. So in the English version, the Red Ranger, the future Red Ranger, appears to get killed by Ransik, whereas in the Japanese version, by all appearances, he's the one that goes to the other 4 and are like, I need you to go with me to the past, and goes with them to the past to stop the villain, which is just a frog in the original version. But you find out that the Red Ranger that went with them was actually the girl bad guy from the Japanese version who shapeshift and tricked them into coming to the past. And so then in the English version, the future people are all like, yeah, no, we're sending you to go and stop Ransik and we're going to help you. Whereas in the Japanese version, they're like, yeah, we can't have you come back and leave him back there, but we can't send anyone else to help you. You're on your own.
Oopsie poopsie.
Like that's all. That's you're on your own. And so, from the episodes that I saw anyway, it's kind of like someone sends the Zords back to them to help, but they're like, who sent him back? No one in the future. So like they're not helping us. So who sent it back? And it's like a mystery. In the Japanese version of who sent the Zords back, whereas in the English version, it was just the future people. They're helping them.
Yeah, but it's also there is also an element of mystery because the guy you see like typing at the keyboard, big twist, turns out to be the guy from the future who's dead the whole time.
But my point more though is that in the English version, it's not a mystery. They don't show at first. They don't show anyone special. They just they show the general, the leader of the team, going like, "Time Force agents requesting help. Send the Zords in."
That is true.
And then they go through all the animation. Whereas right from the beginning in the Japanese version, you see the hands typing and you see the mystery, and it's right from the beginning presented as a mystery. Whereas in the English version, it's not them sending the Zords that's the mystery. From what I recall, it's certain upgrades that they get sent.
Yeah,
they don't know who they don't know who developed them.
Yeah.
And you find out that it's future Red guy.
Yeah. Also, yeah, the bad guy really good.
Oh, he's a very strong. I think he's very, very. He's interesting in a way where it's fun.
Yeah.
Because like they end up redeeming him.
Yep.
And to me, that's always way more interesting than just he's just evil for the sake of being evil.
Yep.
Like you find out in the English version that it's because mutants are treated like garbage.
Yep.
Like he's bad for a very justifiable reason, and yeah, it makes him a way more compelling and interesting villain.
Oh. Hold on. I'm gonna have to. So keep talking.
Plus, they end up redeeming the evil girl in that one, and from what I remember, she becomes a Power Ranger. Yes. Nadira?
No. That's Andromeda is the one you're thinking of.
Oh, I thought it was Nadira. I just remember Nadira becomes nice.
She becomes nice. Yeah, she becomes a good guy. She wants to save the evil robot guy.
And what other differences are there that I can remember? I mean, I already talked about how the frog one, who is the big bad crime boss in the Japanese version, just becomes one of the sidekicks in the English version.
Yes, he does.
Other than that, it's pretty accurate to the point where even in the English version, the Green Ranger is still an alien, which he is in the whatever they are, with the green hair and the looking weird.
Oh, is that what he is in the original version too? That's funny.
He is like that. He looks almost exactly like he does in the Japanese version as well.
That is very funny.
Pretty much exactly the same, to the point where I believe both actors are Asian.
That's
in both the English and the Japanese version. I might be wrong about that, but
so okay.
Hold on, I'll look at the cast list and tell you.
So one thing I forgot to mention about Spielbahn, one of the bad guys, she was doing like a real like doing a big monologue, and I'm like, I recognize her. Why do I recognize her? And then she keeps like going on and on. And I'm like, oh, she looks so familiar. And I eventually looked it up. She's Queen, the same actress who plays Bandora in Zyuranger, or as American audiences would know, Rita Repulsa.
Yeah,
you know the Japanese. Yes, it was her. I was like, hey, I recognize. So I'm just watching up these. Hey, I recognize her. I'm starting to recognize actors now. That's funny.
Another difference between the Japanese and English, but this is a minor one. In the English, the Power Rangers end up in a clock tower, whereas in the Japanese version, they end up in the apartment that the present day Red Ranger was going to be renting.
Gotcha.
But other than that, like very similar. Like they still end up doing like a whatchamacallit, a helping people business.
Oh yeah.
Odd jobs. That's the word I'm looking for. There's a lot of things.
Is the Pink Ranger technically the leader in the Japanese version?
I didn't watch enough of it to really get a sense for that, but less so.
Interesting.
But kind of yes, but less so.
The other interesting thing is the actor who plays Rancic was in Mad Max. He was in Mad Max, and so there's an episode where they go to Hollywood and he's dressed as a character, and he's dressed as his character from Mad Max.
Vernon Wells?
Vernon Wells, yes.
Yeah, he was Wes in Mad Max 2, the Road Warrior.
And yeah, he's dressed as him in one of the episodes. Because he's from and he's driving around a car that's like a Mad Max car. It's very funny.
He's so good in Time really Force, good. Though.
He's better. He's better in that show than he has any right to be.
I absolutely agree with that, and that isn't it. That is an example where I absolutely think that part of the reason why I think that show is as good as it is because of the villain.
Yeah, that season.
I think if he hadn't been in it, I think I probably otherwise would have walked away from it feeling like I did about most of the Power Rangers shows, where it was like, it was Power Rangers, so I liked it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? But like now as an adult watching it, it's like, oh yeah, he's good.
Yeah, he's genuinely good. Yeah, and like that's one of those things where that season of the show treats the show like the Sentai does. Where yeah, it's got goofy looking stuff in it, but it takes itself serious. It takes it like a degree seriously. So like it makes the show better. Where you're like, yeah, because at a certain point, you've seen it all, and you need something to like really hook you.
It really masters and understands sure you have them fight in silly funny colored costumes fighting the bad guys, but the bad guys only matter and they only are as good as they are because they have depth.
Yeah, like you can have a character.
There's more to them than just I'm a crime boss and I want to like rule the present. There's a very real human element, and I think that's kind of the thing that the Power Rangers realized, which the Sentai didn't, which is why they have them in human form, is it's easier to relate and feel sympathy for a bad guy when he has a face.
I don't agree with that, because depending on your bad guy, like that's the thing, is the Sentai and the Japanese versions understand that you will engage with the character even if it's in a silly costume if the writing is good and the acting is good. And there's a lot of times in these shows where the writing and acting is good. I mean, a lot of those characters also have human forms so they can emote. But, like, still, you could still have a character that... Like, there's a lot of episodes where it's a character in a really silly costume and I'm starting to feel emotional.
See, but all the ones that I've seen The ones that are the best are the ones where they're humans, where they have a human form that they turn into so they can emote.
Yeah, they almost always have a human form where they can emote, but not always. Not always.
Really, I mean, that just strengthens my point, which is that
but a lot of times,
it's easier to be relating to them when they have a human face.
I mean, yeah. Usually when the character will have a not human form they turn into for the fight sequences, and then when they're being cradled in the good guy's arms, dying and weeping, they're in a human form. So I'm not going to say you're wrong. I'm just saying that there is the capacity for a decent character or a decent performance from a voice actor from a character that's in a.
I mean, sure. Like I've seen some good Goldars, but for every good Goldar that you have have like a goofy fucking like. You're
not wrong. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. I won't say you're wrong.
So especially in Time Force, when your options are Rancic, the guy who has like half a metal face melted away, and is emoting with the acting chops of like a star, for lack of a better term, or you have a goofy sidekick looking Toad/Frog who looks so much like a goofy sidekick that in the English version that's what he became.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna go with the English version.
This is an example of also Power Rangers. We've seen these. We've already watched them. We've seen them. We're not gonna watch the whole thing because we already did.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen this one the full time multiple times.
More than once. But yeah, I mean the robot's backstory is really dark. Like it's genuinely like one of the darker seasons of this show because it follows the Sentai more closely. I think that's to its benefit. I think that's to its benefit. And hey, Jordan, is that it for Time Force?
That's it. Okay. There's no more time for Time Force.
So in order to fully understand why this show sucks so badly, and don't come at me. We're talking about Big Bad Beetleborgs, by the way. Big Bad Beetleborgs. Jordan, do you remember Big Bad Beetleborgs?
No. I don't remember any of them other than Power Rangers, Justin. I had 15 seasons of Power Rangers jammed into my brain. Do you think anything else was going to stay in there?
I mean, what about Superhuman Samurai Squad, Cyber Squad, with Matthew Lawrence? We talked about it previously.
You've talked about it. That's the only reason I know about it.
Okay, so Big Bad Beetleborgs is Saban's other attempt at adapting a tokusatsu show. It is adapting Jokan B-Fighter, Heavy Shell B-Fighter, which we will be talking about later in the show. And in order to fully understand and appreciate why this show sucks so bad, you will not fully understand or appreciate it as I didn't until we talk about that show or until I had watched it. But I am going to do my best to preemptively explain to you why this show upset me. Big Bad Beetleborgs. The premise of which can be very handily explained by the opening theme song, which I would play here. Now, for Jordan's benefit, while the audience hears what the theme song is about, because I'll probably cut this bit out, it's basically, three kids are convinced to stay in a haunted mansion by their snotty rich friends overnight. You know, one of those, if you're real brave, you'll stay in the haunted mansion. And it turns out
don't be a bitch. If you don't be a bitch, then we'll be friends forever.
And the turns out the mansion is haunted by a bunch of Universal style monsters. So like there's a vampire, there's a werewolf.
That's the one you sent me. That's the one you sent me a clip of.
Yes, there's a Frankenstein. I feel like there's one more, and then they free a genie from a pipe organ, and that genie looks and sounds exactly like Jay Leno. They say it's supposed to be Elvis. I don't know how that's possible. It's definitely Jay Leno.
That sounds awful.
And because they release this genie, they get a wish. And they wish to be their comic book heroes, the Big Bad Beetleborgs, which is the three insect-based armors. One is red, one is blue, one is green. And by making them into Beetleborgs, the genie inadvertently releases the bad guys from the comic book into the real world. And the episodes break down as... you would think that the Big Bad Beetleborgs are to fight the bad guys, right? Monster of the Week shows up. They fight it. No more monster.
I would assume so.
You would assume wrong. It's not what the show's about. The show is about interstitial, random, long, and annoying sequences of the Universal monsters bumbling around their mansion and getting into stupid, annoying, and irrelevant shenanigans that have nothing to do with the monster that they're fighting. Or it's the main guys like bumbling around town causing general mischief. And
SpaghettiOs.
And I will say that the main bad guy, who is based off of the main bad guy from the original Fighter, is kind of funny. He's got kind of a funny voice, and he says a lot of funny jokes. The one of them is I forget what the voice actor is, but it's Davis, not Davis. It's Demi Vimon. The voice is just Demi Vimon.
Demi Vimon. Oh, hey.
There's usually like a problem. And it has nothing to do with the monster, and then a monster shows up at the end, and then they fight a monster. And it's awful, and it's terrible, and, like, I skipped through most of it because I wanted to get... There's eventually a series of episodes where their version of the evil Green Ranger shows up, and it's a 6-parter, and a new Ranger or new Beetleborg has to show up to beat him, and every time they fight... It cuts away from them fighting to the Universal monsters bumbling over each other. And there's no real drama or like stakes in any of the actual violence or in any of the actual action, because all of the Beetleborgs are like children, but like not like they're not like the Power Rangers where they're like supposed to be teenagers but they're young adults. No, they're like 8-year-olds. Like 8 to 10-year-olds. So, like, when they get depowered and they're fighting the bad guy, obviously it's a show for 7-year-olds. The bad guy's not going to attack an 8-year-old. So, like, he just growls at them and says, "I'll get you next time," and leaves for no reason without killing them.
I mean, yeah, but would you... Yeah. You can't just walk up and like snap the 8-year-old's neck, Justin.
No, but like
even in Japan, I feel like that wouldn't fly past the censors.
But okay. Well, no, when we talk about Beef Fighter, that's funny you say that. But and so because a lot of the footage for Beef Fighter, and again we're gonna talk about it, is, pardon me, really quite violent. They can't show it or use it, and so
wait, the show's called Fighter?
Yes, and
is one of the guys
Fighter.
Is one of the guys dressed as a bee?
No, a bee isn't Beetle.
Real missed opportunity.
No,
it's called B.
B stands for Beetle. They're Beetle Fighter because they're all based on beetles.
Then they should have called them Beetle Fighters, not Bee Fighters.
They are called Beetle Fighters, but B is short for Beetle. It's a abbreviation.
No,
anyway.
B means bee. They should be bees.
But anyway, where's it going? Oh yeah, so all of the footage, you can't see any of it because every time something violent happens, like Batman 1969 goes bang, flash, crash. So you don't actually see any of it because it's all covered up. And so that's where I'm like, when they say these shows got canceled. Oh, I should also say, there's 2 seasons of this show. Just like there's 2 seasons of Beef Fighter. There's a sequel to Beef Fighter, which we're also going to talk about because I watched a bit of it, called Beef Fighter Kabuto. And so at the end of the first season, they switched suits and they switched to the Beef Fighter Kabuto suits, which is also really, really violent. I was going to watch some of that, but I didn't. I ran out of time. And so they said that this show ended because they ran out of footage. But I refuse to believe that because they barely use any of the footage. Most of the footage, there's at best like 5 minutes of footage per episode from the original show, and the rest. But you said
that it was all super violent.
The footage they do use is the action sequences, which they cover up with the flash, the bang, crash, hit, like the Batman, those kind of things. They barely use any of it. Otherwise, the only time you see the suits, they're with the Universal monster characters, and it's original footage that they've shot. Like, there's one that in the six-parter with the evil, I can't remember what they call it, Negaborg or whatever. He fights a Lightborg, which is one of the characters from B-Fighter who doesn't fight. Like, he never fights. He's never in a fight sequence, not once. He's a salesman. Like, he isn't in it. So he fights the evil version of the Beetleborgs in what is new footage. So you had all these suits and you were shooting original footage anyway. Why did you not just shoot original footage? So much of this show is original footage. Like I don't like using the phrase bastardization, but like it really is a like absolute like insult to B-Fighter. Like, if I were a fan of B-Fighter and I was like, ooh, I'm going to watch Big Bad Beetleborgs, I would be horrified because the show is bad. Like, it's not a good adaptation, and it's frustrating because when you're watching B-Fighter, just like when I watch Kamen Rider, I'm like, there is a way you could have adapted this the way it already was. Like, the original was corny enough that this could be translated into American, like, in a way that is actually good and doesn't, like, it's just like, when you watch Sentai, when I watch Sentai, like Ranger, I'm like, yeah, I get why they thought they could make this into a show for kids. I don't understand how you watch B-Fighter or Spellbound or any of those Metal Hero shows and went, I could make this into a show for 5-year-olds. Because that's what this is. This is like, as much as I would characterize Power Rangers as a show for 8-year-olds, this is a show for 6-year-olds. It's most of it is boring, and the action hides all the good shit.
I understand. Are you going to finish this one?
God, no. Oh yeah, that's what I was. That's what else was, because I skipped through most of this because I wanted to read to you some of the fucking plot synopsises. Because I was like, is this worth watching? Right? I was like, is this worth watching? And so I pulled up the episodes to find out when the evil character shows up to watch that. And this is just a selection, okay? So we're gonna go to this is Ghouls Just Want to Have Fun. A Magnivore spy known as Monsterella is sent to Hillhurst to go undercover as a maid. It's a big bad world. Joe is turned into a Mr. Hyde-like monster by a Magnivore criminal. This is the second season. No, this is for season 1. Drew and Joe's cousin Oliver shows up in town and is kidnapped. 2 bank robbers attempt to hide in Hillhurst. Oh yeah, Hillhurst is the name of the mansion, by the way. 2 bank robbers attempt to hide in Hillhurst, but Flabber gives them a taste of their own justice. Like, all of this sounds bad, Jordan. It all sounds bad.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like one that I'd be super psyched.
And it's like, and like, I like the original, like the thing about VR Troopers. And then we'll get to B-Fighter, but just to wrap up Saban's like failed attempts at making Power Ranger stuff, VR Troopers is at least a little more interesting because it's like they're of the rough relative age to the Power Rangers, so it kind of feels Power Ranger-esque, and like it is at least in spirit similar to the Space Sheriff show and the show that it's based on. Like, it's at least vaguely similar. This is nothing like B-Fighter. Like, this is nothing like B-Fighter. And, like, B-Fighter, if we're going to get into B-Fighter, it's not a perfect show. But, like, my God. Like, when I was watching B-Fighter, all I could think was, how did this become Big Bad Beetleborgs? Like, I would love to be in the creative writing room to see how this happened. It is a travesty.
The connection of events which caused it to happen.
Like how or even like the editing process to figure out how they went from like we're gonna talk about B-Fighter. That's it. That's all I can say. That's all the energy I can spare.
That's all your have scenes?
That's all my have scenes.
So that we move on to the big the final, the thing that set all this off, the have not seen.
The big have not seen. The main thing. The one you have to watch the entire series for. First of all,
I did.
Which series did you watch?
Well, Justin, you set me the goal of picking one and then explaining why I picked it. The one that I picked is Kamen Rider ZO.
Yes, yes, you were supposed to justify it. Yes, right. Yes, right.
I picked it because the story sounded interesting. I actually, when I was looking, I had a Wikipedia open and I was scrolling through each of the different ones to kind of find one which most appealed to me. And so before I even saw what the suits looked like or what any of the visuals looked like, I read the story, which was bad Supreme Ruler is bad. People go back in time to try and make bad Supreme Ruler good.
Yep.
Sounded interesting. Had time travel.
Pretty much it. Yep. You were not expecting it to get as convoluted as it does.
Well, no, I didn't realize when I first picked it, I didn't realize it was an anniversary special.
Yep.
And so one of the big selling points of this was much like the pirate Sentai that I watched previously, which was an anniversary for Sentai. This one was a anniversary for Kamen Rider, and so he's able to turn into all the Heisei era Kamen Riders. That's the point. Is he's collecting their powers, and
he doesn't turn into them so much as he
uses their powers.
Yeah, he uses their powers because like this show contains Decade, and Decade very much turns into the first 10. Now I think it's all of them, but back in the day it was the first 10 years of Heisei Riders. Like that was like he doesn't turn into them per se.
No, he uses their powers and wears like an armored version of their stuff.
And they always look cool. Like they look cool.
Which and so going into this, having not watched like I watched one of the ones that he gets, which as an aside, that was fun.
Right. Hey, I know that one.
That was the one episode where I could be like, hey, I recognize some of these characters. This is kind of fun.
Right.
It gave me an appreciation for how it must have felt for other people to watch all the other episodes. I didn't get those same emotions for all the other episodes.
I did.
But I could see how someone might.
Yeah.
And so that was my big goal with this one was I wanted to watch this one and say, if you haven't watched any of the other Kamen Riders, is it still enjoyable? Like, is it enjoyable as its own series, having not seen any of the other things? Overall, let me give my, and I'll let you give your jump in after. But overall, I would say yes. I think they do a good enough job introducing the characters of this show, explaining their motivations, and like introducing them as characters. So then when all the other like extrapular ones show up, it's like, I don't know who these are, but I get the point.
Yeah, I mean, it does a really good job of like, and that did happen. You asked me that question of like, there's a lot of moments where the show does kind of a like, ta-da, and you're like, yeah. I feel like I'm supposed. That happened to me a few times this week where I'm like, I feel like I'm supposed to know who this person is, and then you Google it. You're like, oh yeah, I am supposed to know who this person is.
Yeah.
I found of these like anniversary ones, I still think Gokaiger does it best in the sense that one required the least of me. This one did. There was a couple moments where there was some payoff to storylines from the other, like the one you were like, Kamen Rider Blade, the one where you were like, it feels like I'm supposed to like, yeah, if I didn't. I have no idea who this is, and it means nothing. And it feels like a payoff to a bit that I should know. Yeah, that I should know. And that happened to me a few times as well, where I'm like, this feels like it's paying off a bit that I should know. And that's not on the show. That's on me.
Well, that's on me. I'm watching an anniversary thing. Yeah. Like I know what I'm watching, and I know what I set myself up for here.
Right.
But overall,
my question is,
I think it does.
Does it make you want to go back and watch any of the series that you saw pop up?
For this, yes.
Like, but I mean, like of the ones that aren't from. I mean, like of the old ones.
Yes, I'm saying for future episodes of this.
Oh,
yes.
Oh, yes. Oh, you're not on your own. You mean? Yeah. No. Hey, that's fair.
Independently, no, I can't.
I don't think I will ever do this independently again, just because this just gives me a reason to keep me.
I don't need to. I'll do it for this.
Also, it's a really handy thing to watch on an airplane.
Like I wouldn't mind. There's a couple ones that were in this one where it's like a wizard
Oh
I
yeah.
wouldn't mind checking it.
Name
Which I believe is the sequel to Forza.
It is. Name three of the ones, if there's three.
Oh, that's hard. Build.
You would like Build. You would like Build. Build is good.
Because I've seen it in two different things for because of
That
this.
one gets really melodramatic, like really
Build.
melodramatic.
Wizard.
Wizard's also pretty good.
And I'm inclined to say Decade.
Decade. I don't think the ending is very good, but the rest of it's pretty good.
I'm inclined to say Decade because he's so prominent in this one.
This is a sequel to. This is a soft. It pays off like the him. I think him and the end become friends at the end. Like it pays off a great deal of his story because the thing with Decade is
because like he was just one of the characters in this show where I was like, I don't know who he is. He feels important and he has a lot of overpowered abilities that I don't understand.
Yeah, his thing was he was the destroyer of worlds. I am Decade, destroyer of worlds. So the idea with his series is similar to this is kind of a companion piece in the sense that like everyone assumed he would become what was known as ultraviolet Decade and destroy all the universes. And his show ends on a big cliffhanger that pays off in a movie where you find out that was all a big ruse and that he wasn't actually going to do that. And yeah, and that shows a great soft introduction to that era of the because none of the stories are right, so it doesn't give away anything, but you get the idea of what these characters' powers are. That's the one nice thing about this is the like at least like for example Kuga shows up on that show, but it's a completely different actor and the story is completely different from the actual show, which is why when he shows up in this, it's kind of a big deal.
Another one of the things that I like in this show is so the bad guys, the time jackers, keep making alternate versions of the Kamen Riders, and so you get a lot of cool of the Another Rider versions.
Yeah.
Which, as an aside, I would have called them like alternate riders.
Probably because another is easier to say in that pseudo English. Probably.
Yeah, it just made it in the beginning until you explained it to me. It made it confusing. Like at first, I was confused as to what they were.
Yeah, fair enough.
It took me a couple episodes to be like, okay, so they're alternate versions of those guys.
Yeah, they're evil. Oh yeah, the evil. Another version of them is the idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. And some of the designs are legit good. Like some of them are creepy and upsetting looking, especially if you're a fan. Like I think they go through all of the Heisei Riders, and like some of them, like if you're a fan, are legit upsetting. Like the one I really liked from the movie was Another W, where like when he turned his body, it looked like the mask. I was like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. There's a lot of them, and it's hard for me to remember them all, but there was definitely some cool ones.
Another Forza,
and I like
being upsetting.
One of the things I like is they then have another Zeo.
Yeah.
And I like that another Zeo is able to like create and control all the other another ones.
I didn't remember that. I saw you watching it. I was like, I don't remember this character like at all. I clearly zoomed through the back half of the show because I do not remember that character.
But that was a thing that I liked. The back portion of the show is a little bit confusing because like one of the time jackers then is from another timeline. And he takes control of this timeline, and then the good girl who we've known since the beginning, who didn't remember her name, is his sister, and then betrays Sogo, I think. I got a little lost on the last little bit there, where it's like she betrays Sogo and turns into a Kamen Rider, and is like, I'm on your side, bad guy, and guys had just been killed, and that's what makes Sogo tap into the Oma Zeo powers. But then, like, all of a sudden, he's rewritten time, and she's a good guy again. And I'm like, it's a little wibbly wobbly at the end there.
I do not recall liking the ending.
I might have just gotten a little burnt out at the end. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
in my opinion, most all of these shows are 4 to 5 episodes too long. Like it's always like they solve the main conflict, they beat the bad guy, and there's somehow an additional 4 episodes left. And you're like, how is that possible? They've beaten the bad guy. This should be done.
my big thing for this one was the entire time I was just like, I don't understand how he becomes Omazeo.
Yeah,
Like
they
how
never.
the version that we see, like, okay, in the version that we see, he has a connection and that person dies, and I could see that causing him to be enraged by it and become like go down that path. But I'm talking in the original
Yeah, I
timeline
know they never
when
explain
when
it.
when no one goes back in time, no one interferes, and everything happens the way that it's supposed to. I don't see how he becomes him.
Someone's gonna tell me in the comments, they're gonna yell at me and be like, "There's a movie or a V Cinema or like a YouTube short somewhere that explains how it happens." But in the show, I remember that being the one thing they never explain why he goes evil in that show. Like,
Or if they do, then I missed it.
I missed it. Two of us missed it because I do not recall them ever explaining it, and that being something frustrating me. I just remember the back half. But to be fair, a lot of these shows tend to kind of drag in the middle a little bit. Um, like a lot of them could be again 5-6 episodes shorter. Like there's just a lot of reiterating the same points over and over again, where you're like, okay, yeah, I get it.
Oh yeah, particularly in this one, the fact that like Guys doesn't trust him for way too long, and then he does trust him, and then they go into the alternate timeline where nobody remembers him, and then he doesn't trust him again, and it's like, we've done this, so I don't need to do the him not
Yeah,
trusting him again.
we've
Come
done
on, man.
this. We've done this. It's been done.
I understand why he has issues with him. It's completely understandable and realistic, but from a from a show standpoint, it's tedious.
Yeah, super tedious. So is that it?
Yeah, I enjoyed this one.
Yeah, I like. There's a lot of it I like. There's a lot of it it gets confusing. But like I say, when you connect something to Decade, it's always and it involves time travel. There's always going to be an element of confusing. It's just.
I will say also, like I said before, I think this show does the better version of he's the friendly, like, I'm gonna be king
Yeah.
version of the character. I think this one's better.
Yeah. Like I said, the best breakdown of what Kamen Rider protagonists tend to break down to is Tsukasa, who is Kamen Rider Decade. You know, that kind of mysterious, stoic badass. They have a mysterious backstory, and it's about slowly peeling away. And they have momentary moments of being emotional or goof. It's kind of how they break down.
I would agree.
Oh, is that it?
That's it. That's all. That's it for me for this week.
That's it for me. So I've got kind of 2-ish for my final one, but it's really more 1-ish. I have selected B Fighter. The first season, the main one, the one I finished is Jukon B Fighter, which is heavy shell B Fighter, and it is about Japan. There is I can't remember what it's called, but they're basically like the UN. They take care of the planet. They've got various different like environmental is working for them. So like the one guy, he's a zoologist. The other guy, he's a plant guy, and I can't remember what the girl was. And there's an evil invading army called Jamal, and they are led by Gawam. And what I liked about this show, and they always actually the premise of it is they are developing a series of robot armor, just like any other one of these shows, and the guardian of or the I can't remember what they said he exactly is, but he's basically like the leader of all of the insects, named Guru, shows up, and he's really cool. He's like a Hercules beetle puppet, and he looks really cool, and the effect looks really cool. He shows up, and he imbues the armor with the spirit of the insects, and so the armor.
Are you sure he's Guru and he's not Super Kami Guru?
He could potentially be Super Kami Guru, but early they established that the armor operates kind of on its own, and it guides them through the action. And it has its own kind of spirit and energy. And so when it becomes too damaged, they have to take it off and they have to put it back in its little case. for it to heal, and then once it's fully healed, they can turn back into through a process they call heavy shell. And yeah, it's pretty much exactly what you think it is. The bad guys have an evil plan. They show up, they beat the bad guy, and problem solved. But what makes this interesting is, like I said before, one of the things that's consistent among the series is there are 3 separate armies. So in this series, there are the shoot, I'm forgetting what they're called, but bio creatures, basically, army. There's the mercenary army, and then there's the cyber army, and they're the 3 bad guys from Big Bad Beetleborgs, and they each and the bio army, they're basically like genetic creatures, and so they're different combinations of different animals and whatnot. And then the cyber army are all robots, and then the mercenaries are anything. Sometimes they're people. Like in one episode, it was a former friend of the leader who had killed this dragon and gotten this sword, and so she was super strong because of this dragon armor and this sword. And the episode ends with the dragon taking over her body to get revenge. And like I said, it's quite a bit more violent than Sentai. Like in one of the episodes, a girl gets taken over, gets mind control from the bad guy, and she attacks the guy and just starts choking the shit out of him. And Sentai wouldn't do that, or Kamen Rider. That's
no.
Or like one of the bad guys, they beat him by like skewering him through the stomach. And you actually you see the sword go through him. And the big, so eventually there's a big status quo change, like there is, and the big status quo change is eventually they introduce, like they do in Big Bad Beetleborgs, a character they call Blackbeat, he's brought to life using the magic of one of the associates of the evil army guy.
Through the magic of friendship and love.
And so now he's there, and he's one of the leaders of the army, but he's got his own secret goal of, like, he wants to beat the blue guy, and there's this big mystery. And in order to create him, they stung the blue guy with some, like, poison or whatever. And so it's just really obvious early on that he's a clone of the blue guy, but they stretch out the mystery till, like, the last, like, 10 episodes, where you finally find out that... And the effect of the two guys in the same place, like, they fight each other a bunch, and it's honestly it's pretty good. Like, it's fairly believable.
I mean, speaking of people being two people being in the same place, that reminds me. Didn't even talk about how fucking phenomenal Woz is in that.
Oh my god, Woz is so good.
The guy who plays 2 different versions of himself, and they're both phenomenal.
Woz is my favorite character. I love his.
I genuinely think he's probably my favorite character.
He's my favorite character. I love his Kamen Rider suit. The design's genuinely good.
Woz.
Yeah.
Woz. Go Woz!
I love how he just periodically will just appear out of nowhere to proselytize. It's funny every single time.
Yeah, to prophetize. Yeah. He's funny. So great.
It's funny
Sorry.
every single time.
We had
to mention Woz. How we could not mention Woz? But yeah, so basically they introduced this black, and he big, he's the 6th Ranger. He beats their ass, and he's evil for a while. And the show is too long. It's 53 episodes long, and they do, like, the same 3 episodes a bunch, where it's like, the red and the green guy don't trust each other, and they have to learn to work together. Or the red guy has a crisis of conscience, the blue guy does, or whatever. But just randomly about... So that's the big first status quo change. No, sorry, the big first status quo change is they kill the bad guy. They beat him, and he transforms into just a floating head. So for the rest of the series, he's just a floating head.
That feels lazy.
And all of the bad guys all hate each other. That's the whole thing. They're all competing. And so periodically they'll do episodes where they team together. So he's a bionic creature who is also a robot and is also part mercenary. And so that's what Blackbeat is. He's a combination of all of them. And they're all trying to, like, tell him what to do. And he's like, no, I'm my own guy. And his ultimate thing is he wants to kill the blue one, because if he kills the blue one, he becomes his own person. And yeah, there's varying degrees of being the monster, blah, blah, blah. And then the final arc is the bad guy decides that he's just going to go full-bore kamikaze and puts all of his energy into a black hole and kills all of the generals who work for him. Just screws them all over and kills all of them. Tries to kill the Black Beetle guy, fails. Black Beetle guy gets away, and the leader of the mercenaries, she changes sides to help him. And so then he brings in another former associate of hers to try to kill the bee fighters or whatever. And he's like, oh, I'm gonna make you the leader of the mercenary army. And she's like, oh, that's this great honor. I'm like, I wouldn't trust him. He just screwed over literally every one of his associates to try and steal their energy. And so then he's like, yeah, I'm gonna make you the leader. And then he inevitably screws her over too. And it's like, see, I told you. He literally screwed the rest of them over. Why would you trust him? This is a weird time. Because this is like, they're in the final arc of the series. They're about to do the big final confrontation. And like, this is a really weird time to introduce this character. This is a very odd choice.
Sounds like a bad show.
It's honestly quite good. It's honestly, I quite enjoyed it. But the big thing with it, and this is a problem with the Metal Hero series, and why it's what Toei considers it to be a defunct series, a failed series, is because it, much like you have pointed out, is very confused. It suffers from an identity issue. It can't decide if it wants to be a team-based show where there's a team and they have robots and they fight big monsters, or it can't decide if it wants to be he's a single guy and he's fighting monsters like Kamen Rider show. And also, Kamen Rider was on a hiatus at the time. So Kamen Rider came back, and they decided to go with Kamen Rider instead. And the team-based thing, they already had Sentai, so they didn't need this. So that's why it ultimately failed, and why they haven't made a new one since.
That checks. That tracks.
But one of the... So,
would you finish it?
I already did finish it, and it was alright. But one of the more frustrating elements of it, boring elements, is they all have vehicles, but the vehicle combat is unlike Sentai, where they merge into a big robot. They just kind of drive around. So like the one of them has a helicopter, one of them has, it's like a Hercules Beetle tank thing.
So it's like those scenes in Power Rangers when they're fighting in the individual swords and it looks lame, and then they turn into the Megazord. Right. But this one they don't turn into the Megazord.
But what they fight against is just boring fighter jets. And then eventually they introduce what is their version of the Megazord, a bigger bug that they combine into one thing. But their version of combining into one thing is they've just got slots that the smaller vehicles slot into. So when it moves, you just see the model and the little versions of them just bouncing around on it, and it looks bad. And the only good mech fight in the entire show is the leader of the robot army. He sacrifices all his energy to the bad guy, and you think he's dead, and it turns out he's not. He's alive, and he's gone completely insane. And he turns himself into a big tank with his head on it, and there's kind of a fun fight between them, where it's like, oh, we're fighting a big guy now. Okay, now this is actually interesting. Otherwise, it's just them shooting or pulling stuff, or it's not very exciting. But what's interesting and what differentiates them is because they're robot suits, they move a little slower, they move a little... so their fights are a bit more brutal and a bit more aggressive, and they hit harder. So like if you're looking for an alternative to Sentai or Kamen Rider and you want something a bit darker and a bit more violent, like this as like a more adult alternative to Power Rangers in the States totally could have worked. And like you could have adapted it with like a teenage, like a Jason David Frank Austin St. John style series of leads, like instead of making it a show for 8-year-olds. I don't understand how this became a show for 8-year-olds, and it's even more baffling because the original show often is about helping a kid or saving a kid or teaming up with a kid, and like it's not awful. It's actually interesting. Oh, and also there's what's oh yeah, sorry. I forgot. Randomly, about 23 to 24 episodes in, they changed the girl. So for 25 episodes, it's one girl, and then randomly she just leaves a letter and is like, "Bye, I'm leaving. I'm never coming back." And
I have to go away for no reason.
Yeah, I have to go to South America for no real reason. And I tried to look it up. There's seemingly no explanation for it. But they replace her with a much younger girl who they specifically say is 19. and is hysterical. Like there's all the time. That's her bit. Like she has to go through this character arc where she has to learn not to be nice to people. Like there's an episode where she like defeats a bad guy by talking him down. He's like, "Are you sure you want to do this? Like, is this really necessary?" And the monster's like, "No, I guess it's not really necessary." And then he walks away, and the bad guys are like, "What the?"
You don't want to sell me death sticks.
Like what? The other B fighters and the bad guys are like, "What just happened?" It's very strange. The other girl never comes back. They pretend like it's been her the whole time. It's very bizarre. But there's
you don't want to sell me death sticks.
There's a season 2.
You don't want to sell me death sticks.
I don't want to tell you death sticks. There's a second season there's a direct sequel to this show. And I thought that was kind of neat, where it was like, yeah, it's 5 years later. One of the original B fighters creates new upgrade versions of the powers. It gives it, but now they're teenagers, and they get to be 1,000 times more dramatic than the previous versions do. Also, to wrap this up, the final episodes of B Fighter. Remember how you had your moments where you're like, I feel like I should know these guys. Like the show's like, ta-da, yeah. The final 2 episodes is a crossover where the past 3 seasons of the show come back, and they do a big team up. And the last season is just like SWAT guys with like vaguely Metal Hero looking masks, like they don't look interesting. And the previous guy is a purple robot.
Oh, you're supposed to know who that is?
And yeah, you're supposed to. His name is Jom something, and you're supposed to know. And there's a scene where he runs in, like all the bad guys are the bad guys from their respective.
But didn't you watch the entire thing? Shouldn't you know who that is?
No, because they're from previous seasons.
But you watched all the seasons.
No. I only watched the first few episodes of it. I don't watch all of the seasons of this. No, I just watched. The only season I watched was B Fighter, and I only watched the one B Fighter. And the rest of them, I only watched a few episodes each.
Oh, you mean past, like, series, not seasons.
Well, I mean, each of these show is a season. It's a season of Metal Hero.
Right, but it's like the equivalent of you watched Time Force, but that character's from, like, Mighty Morphin.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you watched the previous... Those are from previous series.
Yeah, but they're considered part of the same show, franchise, so they're seasons.
Right, they're all Power Rangers, but that Mighty Morphin is a different series than Time Force.
No, it's a different season.
Series.
Series isn't... I mean,
series.
If you want to be British...
It's a different series of run. It's not the same show. Like those are different.
It is the same show. They're both Power Rangers. That's the same show.
No, but they're not. They're not the same team.
Yeah, but they're different. They're different seasons of the same show.
They're considered different shows.
No, they're not different. They're still Power Rangers.
Yeah, but they're not the same. They're not the same Power Rangers.
You're talking series in like British terms, but that's just another term for season. Like, seasons of television. It's the season of the same television show.
No, but if it's supposed to be a season, then it's supposed to be the same characters. Like Mighty Morphin had seasons; those had seasons of shows. But then once Mighty Morphin Power ended, like
like
the next one after that isn't the 5th season of Mighty Morphin.
But it's the 5th season of Power Rangers.
It's a different series of Power Rangers.
Yeah, and you're splitting hairs on the terminology, but no, yeah, it's the same thing. They're seasons of television.
No, we're gonna have to agree to disagree on this.
We're not. But anyways, not the point.
We are.
You're getting hung up on the terminology. Yeah, they are season. There's still seasons of Metal Hero. The previous seasons of Metal Hero show up.
Yeah, but it's a different series. I got you. I got what you're saying.
It's not a different. Anyway.
It is.
It's not. Anyway.
It is.
It's not. It's not.
It is.
Doesn't matter. It's not. Doesn't matter.
It is.
Like it's all Kamen Rider. They're all the same seasons of the same show. Like it's not different series.
But they're different series.
But no, it's not.
Yes, it is.
It's not different. Super
yes,
Sentai.
It is.
Super Sentai is a different series. That's a different series than Kamen Rider. But say O's and Forza, they're different seasons of Kamen Rider.
But they're different runs. They're different series.
But they're not different series.
Yes, they are, Justin.
But they're not.
Yes, they are.
They're still Kamen Rider. It's the same series.
Yes, but they're different runs. They're different series.
But they're not different. They're different seasons.
Yes, they are.
Yes, they're different seasons. Like it's
they're different series. Yes,
but they're not different series.
Yes, Justin.
No, you're confused.
Doesn't matter. Anyways, no, I'm not. You are.
No, I'm not. You are.
You are.
Anyway,
you are. You are.
Different Metal Hero characters show up, and the show is like clearly supposed to be like you're supposed to know who these people are, and then their individual bad guys show up, and it does that thing where it's like, yeah, this is we meet again, and I'm like, yeah, I clearly am supposed to. So that was my moment of being like, this show clearly is I'm supposed to recognize these characters, but I don't, and I have no interest in why. Although no, that's not true. The robot I was interested in because I was curious as to if he stayed a robot the whole time. Because when he showed up on the show, he shows up as a robot, and I thought it was like yours, where it was like, oh, they don't want to get the actor to come back.
Okay.
But yeah, I liked it. I watched the first 3 to 4 episodes of the sequel, and the characters were annoying, and I was like, I understand why this got canceled. But yeah, they ultimately decided to go. So there's a universe where Kamen Rider is the one that got canceled, and Metal Hero is the popular one.
I don't think there was ever a world where that was going to happen.
Well, it's funny because the Metal Heroes all are like Kamen Rider in the sense that like most of them drive a motorcycle. Most of them, but then again, yeah, it's confused. It's like you said, it's too many things. Like Kamen Rider is like, yeah, they drive one vehicle, and it's a motorcycle or it's a car, but that's it. They don't have like 50 different vehicles. Super Sentai is like they've got the one robot. They all merge into it. Like it's simplified, and they generally all have a similar idea of them. It's like Sentai is the team, Kamen Rider is the solo guy. But I do think, even in Japan, I think there's a world for a middle, right? I think this could exist today. They tried to bring it back twice. I've seen both of them. They're not good. I'm not going to waste your time describing them. Just trust me when I say they're not good. But I do think that there's a world for this to exist. But this is probably the last time I'm going to explore this. I don't know. A lot of them I was kind of interested in, maybe, but I'd be far more likely to go back to Ultraman than I would this. Ultraman was way more engaging to me. I don't know. But
you could always do another one of these as a rapid fire.
I could. So the next time we do this, there's always a gimmick, right? Every time we do this, there's always a new rule. There's always a new angle. And the next time, Jordan, the angle...
Oh, you're gonna set it in now? You're not gonna wait like a couple weeks to think it through?
No, I already thought about it I already thought about it over the course of the week. This is what the gimmick is. You must select one for me. But, and here's the twist, you are going to be trying, based on conversations we may have, or have had, in between now and when we do this again. You must select one I have not seen.
You've seen them all.
Maybe I have. Maybe I haven't. There's been ones I haven't seen, and I've told you them. You're just gonna have to pay attention. That's.
I'm not good. I'm not good at that. But okay, I'll try.
And then you will ask and you will guess, have I seen it or not? And I will tell you.
All right. So does that mean you're picking one for me?
I am. I haven't decided which one yet. And then you will theme the rest of your choices around that selection.
Am I theming my selections around the one that I choose for you?
No.
Or the one that you choose for me?
Yes. The one I choose for you.
Okay.
That's going to be the gig. That's going to be the game. And also, I kind of like this bit where we try to watch as many just series as we can. That was kind of an interesting challenge. So we might add that element to it. But yes, you must select one for me, and your challenge is going to be to try to choose one that I haven't seen.
Well, I have like 6 or 7 months before we end another season, so I think I have some time to think it over.
Please don't make me watch an old one. Like keep it newer if you could. That's your best shot. If it's newer, there's a good chance I haven't seen it yet. And also, we'll add the addendum of it can also be one that I haven't finished, because there's a number I haven't finished, like Ghost and X-Aid. I've never finished. I've watched like 10 episodes of them. I've never actually finished them. There we go. That's your head start. But in the meantime, for next week, that's season 5 stuff. For next week, it's as a follow up to Japan, because Japan's always it's a time. You need something easy. You need something like light to jump you back into regular season territory. So it's going to be time for Pick an Actor 3. Is this Pick an Actor 3 or 4?
I think this is 3. I think we did 1, 2, and then pick an actress. I think we also did.
So this is technically Pick an Actor 3. Pick an Actor I. The return of Pick an Actor. Pick an Actor is back. And we had a recommendation in our Discord. You can join, by the way. By our good friend Allie from Literature and Lingerie. Subscribe to her channel. She recommended Brendan Fraser. And so
I think that's going to be my challenge.
You're going to take Brendan Fraser? Well, then I'm going to select Daniel Radcliffe. Because I want to watch. Also, I'm not going to pick Harry Potter. I might pick Harry Potter. I'm going to try not to pick Harry Potter.
If you pick a Harry Potter, then you have to try and find a version of the Cursed Child and watch that.
No, because it
doesn't that's the only Harry Potter I will allow on this. And I realize it doesn't have Daniel Radcliffe.
Doesn't have Daniel Radcliffe in it.
But I don't want you to do any of the other ones because that's lazy.
I mean, only if it's. I don't think I'm going to have to, but only if I run into a situation if I've run out of Daniel Radcliffe stuff. But I would like to watch Miracle Workers, the show that he's on, so I might see if I can find some of that. Probably after this. Anyway, that's next week. Pick an Actor Part 3. Return of Pick an Actor. Daniel Radcliffe and the
Fraser.
And the Phrase Man. Coming next week, coming to you live on your YouTubes. In the meantime, Jordan, where can people find you? That's the end of the show.
I do Minecraft Monday on Zethgore187 on Twitch. I do the Spur of the Moment podcast on the weekends, usually Sundays, sometimes Saturdays, here. Same bat time, same bat channel.
It's true.
And I'm also in our Discord, Spur of the Moment Discord. If you want to send suggestions there, you can get a hold of me there as well.
You can join the Discord. You can send us a message on the Discord. Jordan, they can email the show, right? What's the show?
It's justinsbusiness@gmail.com.
Jordan, are we also on TikTok?
I'm pretty sure we're on TikTok. Spur of the Moment Pod P. Spur of the Moment P.
Spur of the Moment P. We do P. Spur of the Moment P. Jordan, I'm on TikTok. I'm Justin Spurr. You can follow me there. Jordan, if people want to be on the show, they can fill out. We have a handy dandy Google form, but also like maybe message me in other places to tell me you filled it out because I don't know if it sends me notifications, so I don't know if anyone's ever filled it out. But you can fill that out, and it'd give me a head start on what we could do for your episode of the show. Go sign up for Audible. Audible.com.
Audible's a thing.
Did we miss anything?
Is there any Patreon if you want to buy us a coffee?
Oh yeah, buy us a coffee. Hey, I don't know if there's such a mechanic of leave us comments. Someone left us a comment saying that their favorite Pokemon card was Relinquished. That's a solid choice. Solid choice of not Pokemon card, Yu-Gi-Oh card.
Wait. I was gonna say I think that's Yu-Gi-Oh.
I meant Yu-Gi-Oh. I said Pokemon. I meant Yu-Gi-Oh. Yeah, someone left a comment. Their favorite Yu-Gi-Oh card is Relinquished. Solid choice.
I liked that one. Solid. I had a Pegasus deck growing up.
I've had a Pegasus deck. Solid choice. Keep living us those comments. Also, answering the question, are we a clone? Good night, everybody!